My name is Priscilla Rojas, and I am the Chair of the BPDA Board. Thank you for joining the June 18th, 2026 Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston Board meeting. At this time, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall in our boardroom on the 9th floor and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV. For more information and updates, visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It's also being live streamed at boston.gov/cable. Now, if there's anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting, I ask that you please identify yourself now. Okay, seeing none. We'll begin with a roll call. Ms. Bennett.
Here.
Mr. Shepherd.
Present.
Mr. O'Malley.
Here.
And I, the chair, am present. Item number 1, request authorization for the approval of the minutes of the May 14th, 2026 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 2, request authorization to execute a memorandum of agreement with the City of Boston acting by and through its Property Management Department to formalize the assignment of municipal protective services personnel on EDIC managed properties, including the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park and 43 Hawkins Street, for a period of 1 year commencing July 1st, 2026, and ending on June 30th, 2027, with 3 one-year term renewal options and at a cost not to exceed $950,000 for fiscal year 27. Rebecca.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. The City of Boston's Property Management's Municipal Protective Services has provided security services to the BPDA for many years. These uniformed officers preserve order, respond to critical events, and enforce the laws of the Commonwealth and the ordinances of the City of Boston. Their responsibilities on BPDA property include, but are not limited to, provide uniformed officers for physical security, emergency response, and traffic control, provide real-time video surveillance, provide alarm monitoring and system maintenance, and provide lease and license enforcement. By entering into the MOA with the City of Boston, acting through its Property Management Department, the EDIC will ensure that 12 Channel, 43 Hawkins, and other EDIC properties maintain a consistent and visible presence throughout for visitors, employees, contractors, and tenants. Further, the MOA will provide the necessary documentation to allow for reimbursement to the City of Boston for the provision of NPS services. The term of the proposed MOA is for 1 year, beginning in July and ending June 30th, 2027, with 3 additional one-year option terms. The MOA will cover fiscal year 2027, and the total cost for NPS services for the EDIC properties is expected to be approximately $950,000. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 3, request authorization to execute a memorandum of agreement with the City of Boston, acting by and through its its Department of Public Works, authorizing the use of and payment for fuel and services provided by the Fleet Maintenance Unit for the period from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027, at a cost not to exceed $250,000. Rebecca.
Thank you. The City of Boston Department of Public Works owns and operates a fleet maintenance unit which provides fuel and various vehicle services for city-owned vehicles. To achieve efficiency and decrease costs and expenses, DPW has agreed to provide the BPDA with fleet maintenance unit services. Services under the fleet maintenance unit will be provided to all entities under the BPDA, including BRA, EDIC, and OWD. In total, the BPDA has a total of 21 vehicles in our fleet. Service under the fleet maintenance units includes fuel, fob services, emergency breakdown support, inspections, washing, and other services. The applicable rates for these services will be specified in an MOA between Public Works and BPDA. The MOA is proposed for fiscal year 27. The total cost of services authorized for all BPDA entities under this MOA shall not exceed $250,000. Historically, annual spending is typically less than $50,000, though. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you, Rebecca. Item number 4, request authorization to extend tentative designation status to and continue lease negotiations with a joint venture between Lincoln Property Company and Quaker Lane Capital or a related entity of such joint venture for the long-term lease and redevelopment of the EDIC-owned Parcel U site located at 7 Channel Street within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park for 6 months until December 31st, 2026. Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. 7 Channel Street, also known as Parcel U, is located in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. The approximately 45,000 square foot site includes a 2-story building of approximately 27,000 square feet, and it's been vacant for several years. Lincoln Property Company and Quaker Lane Capital, the 2023 selected proponent, proposed an approximately 240,000 square foot, 9-floor building with office and lab space. The proposed building will include a 2-floor firehouse on the first and second floor. Since the initial tentative designation award, Lincoln/Quaker Lane have been in active negotiations with BPDA staff on the terms of the ground lease for the redevelopment of the site, and we are close to finalizing a term sheet with this team. They have filed their letter of intent in April, and the next step is for them to start working on their P&F. Staff acknowledge that the current market is challenging, but we are hopeful based on the progress of the term sheet and the submission of a letter of intent on the project moving forward. Therefore, we recommend extending tentative designation for 6 months to allow this to move forward. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 5, request authorization to execute a contract with McKay Construction Services Incorporated for the construction of the Fid Kennedy Avenue realignment with the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park in an amount of $3,758,680 and a 20% contingency for a total contract amount not to exceed $4,520,416. Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm before you today to request authorization to award and execute a construction contract with McKay Construction Services for the realignment of Fid Kennedy within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. This matter was last before you in December 2025 to request authorization to publicly advertise and issue an invitation for bid. The Marine Park Master Plan update identified Fid Kennedy Avenue as a preferred primary trekking route within the campus in order to improve circulation, support future development opportunities, and separate heavy truck traffic from multimodal transportation routes to improve overall site safety. BPDA previously retained engineering services to evaluate conceptual roadway realignment alternatives, which resulted in 4 concepts being reviewed with the Marine Park industrial tenants. One preferred option was selected for advancement into final design and construction. The scope of work for this project includes construction of new paved roadway sections, sidewalks, curbing, landscaping, utility relocation work, and storm drainage infrastructure associated with the realignment of the road. The project also includes relocation and installation of electrical, water, and storm drain utilities, relocation of the Marine Park sign, relocation of security equipment, and associated line striping improvements. 2 bids were received in response to the solicitation. The lowest eligible and responsible bidder was McKay in the amount of $3,758,680. BPDA staff reviewed the submitted bids and determined that McKay Construction was the lowest eligible and qualified bidder in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 3039M. The total contract award is $4,520,416, which includes a recommended contingency of 20%. Funding for this work is included in the agency's fiscal year 26 capital construction budget, with funding support from the City of Boston Capital Plan. Therefore, we are requesting authorization for the director to award and execute this construction contract with McKay Construction Services. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Rebecca. Item number 6, request authorization to execute a contract with Northeastern Tree Services Incorporated for arborist services at EDIC-owned properties citywide for a period of 3 years, with 2 one-year term renewal options and a total contract amount not to exceed $296,900. Francis.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Director Shen. I'm here to present the awarded bid for arborist services for EDIC-owned properties within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. The selected arborist company will be responsible for furnishing all supervision, labor, materials, equipment, transportation, and related services necessary for tree trimming and pruning, removal of hazardous trees, stump cutting, and tree plantings. All services shall be performed by a Massachusetts certified arborist. In the response for the IFB issued on April 23rd, 2026, the BPDA received and opened 2 responses on May 12th, 2026. Of the 2 proposals submitted, Northeastern Tree Services, Inc. was selected as the responsive and eligible bidder with the lowest bid price of $178,140 for the initial 3-year contract. The result contract will be for the initial 3-year term and up to $296,900 if both 1-year extension options are exercised. The contract will be funded through the BPDA fiscal year 26 operating budget. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Francis. Item number 7, request authorization to execute a contract with Building Pathways to prepare students with career readiness, occupational skills, and wraparound support in order to enter and be successful in the registered union apprenticeship in the building trades for a period of 2 years with 1-year term renewal option and a total contract amount of $388,000. Jody?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Jody Sugarman-Brozan, a Deputy Chief in Boston's Worker Empowerment Cabinet, and I'm here today to request authorization to enter into a contract with Building Pathways for a total contract amount of $388,000 over a 2-year term with a 1-year renewal option to be exercised at the sole discretion of the Office of Workforce Development. On December 3rd, the Worker Empowerment Cabinet released a new report, the Boston Climate Ready Workforce Action Plan. According to the report, between now and 2050, efforts to design, build, and operate a clean energy economy and to ensure Boston's climate resiliency will keep about 67,000 people per year employed. About 10% of these jobs will be net new jobs that wouldn't exist otherwise. Just over 50% of these jobs will be in the building trades. Over the next 25 years, the city and property owners will need to invest between 12 and 21 billion in new coastal and nature-based investments to prevent flooding, controlled stormwater, and build coastal resilience. About 8,800 to 15,000 jobs will be supported by these investments per year, including workers to install and maintain resilience infrastructure. At the January 15th board meeting, the Office of Workforce Development requested and received the board's authorization to issue a publicly advertised request for proposals for a contractor to provide a training program to support the Boston Climate Jobs Alliance to provide career readiness, occupational skills, and wraparound support in order to enter and be successful in a registered union apprenticeship in the building trades. That RFP was issued on March 26th, and 1 firm submitted a proposal in response to the RFP. After review of the technical and fee proposals received, OWD now seeks approval to select the recommended vendor. OWD recommends Building Pathways as the contractor to prepare students with career readiness, occupational skills, and wraparound support in order to enter and be successful in registered union apprenticeship programs in the building trades to support the Boston Climate Jobs Alliance. Building Pathways proposal described a clear and comprehensive plan that addresses and complies with all core elements of the required submissions stated in the RFP and demonstrates a complete understanding of the key issues and objectives. The proposal clearly summarizes the team's understanding of the project goals and deliverables and how its approach, experience, and relationships would successfully achieve these goals. Thank you for the opportunity to present this request.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Just a quick comment. It's great to see us invest in our succession plan as people are retiring and leaving the industry. We definitely need to replenish the industry, so it's good to see. And I just hope these classes are filled, and I hope we can get good advertisement out to make sure our young men and women in the communities take advantage of the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, with that, how do you, what is the advertising kind of plan? How do people become aware of, your programming and things like that?
The Boston Climate Jobs Alliance actually has a partner specifically dedicated to outreach. So we have a new website and we have social media graphics that drive people to the training programs. We also have a partner, the American Cities Coalition, that is providing career exploration opportunities for people to come hear more about what climate jobs are available and find the right pathway for them. We always share information that the building trades is a very big part of climate jobs.
Awesome. Great. All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you so much.
Right. Item number 8, request approval of the fiscal year 2027 operating budget of the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation, the EDIC, in the expense amount of $55,803,603 and approval for the fiscal year 2027 capital expenditures amount of $7,025,000 and approval of the transfer of funds, forgiveness of interagency debt, and leasing property and assets between the Economic and Industrial Corporation of Boston and the Boston Redevelopment Authority, the Boston Local Development Corporation, and the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority. Approval to enter into any interagency sublease for space, sublease amendments or extensions, and authorization to take actions and execute documents and agreements related to the transfer in and expenditure or transfer of funds out of the Capital Reserve Fund, and approval to execute any and all notices, correspondence, documents, or agreements to or with employees and other as the director determines to be in the best interest of the EDIC. Michelle?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen. My name is Michelle Goldberg. I am the Director of Finance, and I'm happy to present fiscal 2027's budget to you. Before I jump in, I want to recognize the incredible work of the Finance Department and thank everyone across the organization that engaged in the budget development process. Thank you for your hard work all year long to ensure we are strong fiscal stewards. As a reminder, this board has already reviewed and approved a large portion of the agency's operations by approving the funding for the city planning department. That approval ensures that staff have the resources they need to support this board while operating within the city structure. Today's vote completes the BPDA's budget process by factoring in revenues generated by EDIC and BRA assets and expenses related to the operations and maintenance of the real estate within the BPDA portfolio. The following presentation will cover the BRA and EDIC budget. At the conclusion of my presentation, I will seek a vote for the EDIC portion, and later tonight, I will return for the BRA portion. We can move to the next slide. Please, thank you. The annual budget process begins with a mid-year review of current activities and anticipated needs. We now work with the city very closely to ensure personnel and contractual expenses are considered. Concurrently, BPDA staff collaborate internally to project revenue and assess our capital needs in an effort to bring a complete BPDA budget to you for a vote. With that, we can take a look at the current year's performance and our end-of-year projections. FY26 revenue came in very close to budget, with a small favorable variance showing in our grants for OWD. We no longer need to prepare as many intercompany grants between BRA and EDIC as we did in the past, because major expenditures like payroll and large contract payments are cash flowed by the financial transfer to the city. Instead, this grant income category now carries funding from the city for capital, which I will get into more later. For now, it's important to note that the BPDA is experiencing the same economic pressures felt throughout the economy. We are very fortunate to have so much of our revenue locked into long-term lease agreements. The expense side is where you will clearly see the impact of moving a major expense to the city under a contractual MOA agreement. Personnel and benefits now reflect the remaining staff, and those costs will, of course, increase over time. Given the small pool, we obtain benefits for the remaining staff through the city. We can move to the next slide for the FY27 budget. And sorry, one more slide there. Yes, there you go. Thank you. As you can see, FY '27 budgeted revenue is expected to increase modestly. We do have scheduled increases across our lease portfolios. Our parking revenue remains strong as our tenants continue to lease spacing in addition to retail parking. Equity participation is fairly stable as we see that the economy is slowing a bit. And we are still receiving some other income from our investments. As we go down the personnel line, you will see that costs to the city department and the core operations, they remain fairly stable as a result of following the city's budget guidance. The remaining increase reflects the true increased cost for BPDA related to owning and operating our properties. I want to point out that in that city planning department, the BPDA funds major core equity work. The BPDA, the FY '27 budget reflects equity-focused investments in a more integrated operational model than ever before. The agency's approach to advancing diversity and access, has matured greatly since the establishment of the FY '21 Equity and Inclusion Fund. The initial investment in senior level staff and programming are now fully integrated into the city planning department budget. With this greater integration into the fabric of the operations, we can now simplify the financial oversight, and the reporting practices that we had in place are creating unnecessary administrative complexity. So in our financial activities, by formally winding down the equity fund, we will be able to continue these programs with a more simple funding model. Next slide, please. Now we can look, pie charts. Wouldn't want to forget the pie charts. This just gives you a sense of the breakout of our expenses and our revenue. So as we look at our revenue, you can see we still rely very much on our rental and lease agreements. And if you slip to the next slide, you can see, of course, our planning department, our core operations are the majority of our expenses. And when you add in the remaining personnel and employee benefits, that's where you see the whole of BPDA's expenses. Now we can go to the next slide and look at our capital budget. The BRA continues to invest in our revenue generating assets at China Trade and the Charlestown Navy Yard. For the EDIC, crucial investments will be made in 12 Channel. A key revenue generator is in need of repair, as well as Pier 10, where repairs will improve maritime activities across our property. These investments are part of our larger program managed by our capital construction team in the real estate department. Thank you to that entire team for your leadership on this work. With that, this concludes my presentation. I will seek the EDIC vote with this agenda and be back later for the BRA. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate that thorough and transparent approach to sharing. Look forward to the complimentary one in the next part of the meeting. Random question, and I'm not even sure where we would go with this, but parking revenue is a not insignificant amount of our budget, about 15 million, I believe. Mm-hmm. Who sets the price for parking? Because as someone who tries to bike, tries to take public transit, still occasionally has to park downtown, the continuum of parking garages in the city of Boston
Fantastic question.
Wildly long. So I'm curious what...
My partner here, Rebecca, in the real estate department, will be able to speak to that at length.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so we have a parking management contract currently with Pilgrim and Pro Park. They work with us very closely to do market analysis, so they understand both within our assets in the Marine Park and then also in some of our BRA properties what the market is conducting. Generally speaking, our rates are set a little bit below market to be competitive, but they have really the eye on the market and can help us. And then certainly we were balancing a lot of these goals that us as a city have around trying to incentivize other modes of transportation, but this is also revenue generation, so we're trying to set the rates appropriately. But again, with that market actor, that is really helping us understand what is appropriate.
Good. And have a follow-up on that. What was... If you don't know it offhand, it's fine. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would imagine we've seen an increase in this fiscal year as opposed to last fiscal year as we're a little bit further out from COVID, more and more people are coming in, more events are back online.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one of the nuances of our parking is that there is both monthly and transient parkers. So we have seen a slight increase in the revenue that we're collecting on monthlies because of the rate that increases that we're including. I think in a post-COVID world, there's a lot more transient. People are not buying a monthly pass because they're coming into the office 2 or 3 times. And so that's a calculus that we've had to do as well. And I think in terms of the revenue more generally, we do have assets that we have disposed of or are planning to dispose of soon. And so we want to ensure, the Bunker Hill lots that are over in Charlestown, and then also there's another lot in Chinatown. Those tend to be a little bit less revenue generating, but we are making that revenue trade-off in order to achieve affordable housing development.
Sounds like you are more than on top of it, so I appreciate that education. Thank you.
Great. Additional questions or comments? I had a couple. Just wanted to confirm, my understanding of the changes to the equity, focused programming. So can you just review
Sure.
that one more of like,
Yes.
what is
So-
changing?
Yes, so in establishing the equity fund, we weren't prepared from a financial perspective to track or demonstrate where our equity investments were. So we essentially had to set something up outside of the
Yeah.
system in an Excel spreadsheet
Yeah.
and, right? And so over time, we worked to put the codes in. So we have a program code, we have a department code, and we actually have the department now. We've hired a director. All of that is embedded in the work. And so it's systemic in the department now. And so it's duplicative. We can run a report in the system and pull the codes and see what and then we also have the spreadsheet. There could be variances between those. We don't want to have multiple sources of truth. So we'd like to wind down the external fund coding so that we can just rely on the system.
Got it. So it was just when we initially, we just didn't know what the budget, or just like what it was going to be. And now,
Exactly,
like,
we weren't
it's
sure where we
part
were
of the
gonna
regular
put it.
cycle.
Exactly,
Yeah,
we weren't
okay.
sure if there was gonna be a whole department, if it was gonna be spread out. We weren't even sure how we were gonna do that. So over time, as the decisions got made and we built it in, we were able to start to pull and track. And so now it's
Okay.
kind of this extra thing that we're
Yeah,
doing.
so it's more of an operational thing
Yes,
versus
it's
like
not
any
changing-
reduction of programming or investment. It's just the operations.
Right,
Okay.
it's just the accounting process.
Yeah.
The program is there and the funding is in place.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's see, what else? I just wanted to call out and shout out always, the finance team. Thank you so much for all your hard work. The, presentations are always very clear. The variance is very understandable. And also shout out to, the capital team. I've seen that
They've been doing great.
that budgeting process come a really long way, and I just feel really great about where we are today and the decisions that we're making on the many capital needs that we have, right? But just I just wanted to shout that out.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes. Thanks, Michelle. And item number 9, Mike, personnel.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Director Shen. We have a number of items for your consideration on the EDIC agenda with the exact details included in the board memos. We have 6 contracts. In the Real Estate Division, Delaney Morris Landry. In the Administration Division, Anthony Varani, Samantha Vidal, and Izzy Wagner. In the Director's Office, Natalie Noble. And in the Office of General Counsel, Lisa Richardson. And that's it. Now I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes. Thanks, Mike. And I now need a motion to adjourn the EDIC meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion passes. All right, let's move on to the next section. Thank you for joining the June 18th, 2026 Boston Redevelopment Authority Board meeting. At this time, the Boston Planning and Development Agency is hosting public meetings in a hybrid setting for the health, safety, and accessibility of Boston residents. Hybrid means that our board meetings are conducted in person at City Hall in our boardroom on the 9th floor and virtually via Zoom and Boston City TV at the same time. For more information and updates, visit bostonplans.org. The Open Public Meeting Law requires that I notify the public that this meeting is being recorded. Please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston, Office of Cable Communication at Xfinity Channel 26, RCN Channel 13, and Verizon Fios Channel 962. It's also being live streamed at boston.gov/cable. If there's anyone in the audience who's recording this meeting, I ask that you please identify yourself. Okay, seeing none. And also note that demonstrations of approval or disapproval from members of the public are also not permitted during the meeting. So we'll start with a roll call. Ms. Bennett? Here. Mr. Shepherd?
Present.
Mr. O'Malley?
Here?
And the chair is present.
Chair Rojas,
Yes,
may we
we
interrupt
have-
for Councillor
Absolutely.
Flynn's testimony? Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome, Councillor Flynn. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And thank you to the members of the board as well, to Director Chen. And I also want to recognize my longtime friend that recently retired as well, Ted Landsmark. Madam Chair, may I speak briefly on 5 and 6 at EDIC and then on 22? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, in regards to items 5 and 6 on the Economic Development Industrial Corporation agenda, located within the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park, one item seeks a construction contract for Fit Kennedy realignment, which would make it easier for trucks to access the park. The bid has been approved by the Marine Industrial Park Association. The second agenda item would include an arborist contract award, which will maintain the urban tree canopy at the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Industrial Park. I also have filed, or refiled, I should say, a hearing order to continue to call attention to the heat island effect in increasing urban tree canopy in South Boston and especially in Chinatown as well. But I'm respectfully asking the board to consider supporting both of these, number 5 and 6. Madam Chair, may I go on to number 22?
Please.
Okay. Madam Chair, this one is I'm speaking on behalf of the elected officials in my neighborhood, including Congressman Lynch, Senator Nick Collins, and Representative David Beal. This is in support of 776 Summer Street, which is Phase 2. As the elected representatives of South Boston at the federal, state, city level, we are writing to express our strong support for a Phase 2 design plan and PDA amendment for Plan Development Arena Number 128 L Street, Station redevelopment at 776 Summer Street, as proposed by the HRP Group in their partner Redgate. Located in South Boston, the 776 redevelopment represents one of the most transformative projects underway in our city. The project will turn a long vacant former industrial site into a vibrant mixed-use neighborhood that advances Boston's goals for sustainability, economic inclusion, public access to the waterfront. It prioritized creating significant new housing, including affordable and middle-income housing, while generating good-paying union jobs under a project labor agreement. The project has been shaped by years of community input and reflects a real commitment to thoughtful planning, resilience against climate change and sea level rise, and opportunities for all. Approval of Phase 2 design plan and PDA amendment delivers on that commitment, and it is a critical step toward delivering meaningful housing, economic opportunity, public amenities for South Boston and for the city. While no neighborhood concerns regarding on-site affordable housing and other related issues continue to be discussed and examined in future phases of the project, we respectfully ask the board to vote in favor of this current phase of the proposal at 776. We thank this board for your continued commitment to advancing projects that strengthen the economic vitality of the city of Boston. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Thank you so much, Councilor Flynn. All right. Where was I? Item number 1. Okay. Request authorization for the approval of the minutes of the May 14, 2026 board meeting. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 2, request authorization to enter into a license agreement with Richard and Tolly, doing business as TNTs, for the use of a merchandise kiosk at Long Wharf for a period of 9 months, commencing July 1st, 2026, and ending March 31st, 2027. Samantha?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm here to request approval to enter a license with Richard Italia, doing business as TNTs, for approximately 64 square feet of land located on Old Atlantic Avenue in the downtown waterfront urban renewal area of the city of Boston to operate 2 souvenir merchandise kiosks. The downtown waterfront area is the most popular tourism destinations in the city of Boston, making it a valuable location for souvenir merchandise vending. The locations for the downtown waterfront kiosk program are on Boston Planning and Development Agency-owned land, strategically placed between Long and Central Wharves, directly across from Legal Seafoods at 225 State Street. The downtown waterfront merchandise vendor kiosk program is an opportunity to support tourism in the city of Boston and creates opportunities for local small business vendors to sell merchandise to the public. Rich and Natalia has operated 2 waterfront merchandise kiosks on Long Wharf for over 10 tourist seasons. Rich and Natalia will continue to operate walk-up Boston-themed apparel and souvenir sales at the rate of $6,615 per kiosk per month for the 2026 season. The new license fee is consistent with the market and is a 5% increase from previous license rate. Staff recommend entering into a license agreement with Rich and Natalia for a 9-month license term, which will commence on July 1, 2026 and end on March 31st, 2027. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Can you just refresh my memory on kind of how liability works when, with the kiosks and what we're responsible for and what they're responsible for?
Yes, so they just bring their kiosk and we get an insurance certificate from them. So yeah, we're not responsible for their merchandise out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's give people their T-shirts. All right, item number 3, request authorization to enter into a license agreement with AT&T for the use of a portion of Sergeant's Wharf parking lot for the placement of portable cellular base station to support emergency management response during major citywide events, including but not limited to FIFA and Sale 250 events for a period of 2 months commencing July 1st, 2026 and ending August 30th, 2026. Samantha?
I'm here to request approval to enter a license agreement with AT&T for the use of a portion of Sergeant's Wharf parking lot to place 1 cell on wheels, cow, to bring additional cellular service to support emergency management response during major citywide events, including but not limited to FIFA and Sale 250 events. AT&T is the 3rd largest wireless carrier in the United States, and they are requesting to use our property to temporarily place a cell on wheels starting July 1, 2026 to August 30th, 2026. A cow is a portable cellular base station mounted on a trailer or truck that is rapidly deployed to temporarily boost network coverage and data capacity in high-density areas. Cows are required at major events to prevent network congestion, ensure public safety emergency response, and fill infrastructure gaps. Sail 250 is a major maritime celebration marking the 250th anniversary of the United States. The event will bring tall ships from Boston from July 11th to July 17th, and they will coincide with FIFA-related events and draw millions of spectators to the city, putting a strain on existing network coverage and data capacity. The proposed license will allow AT&T to gain access to the license area exclusively for the placement of cell on wheels. AT&T must obtain all permits which may be required in order for the licensee to use the licensed premise. The proposed license will allow for a 2-month license term, which will commence on July 1 and expire on July 30th. The proposed license fee shall be $14,400 for the 2-month term, payable in advance and increase in monthly increments of $7,200. BPDA staff recommends that the director be authorized to enter into a license agreement with AT&T for the use and occupancy of a portion of the Sergeant's Wharf parking lot for a 2-month term. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I have a brief question, and you may not be able to answer this, so that's totally fine. Obviously, this is smart, supported, grateful AT&T can dispatch temporary infrastructure to support sort of public safety and communication. Obviously, in FIFA, just the sheer crowds we've seen it warrants it. Has there been, to your knowledge, any issues with sort of communication the last week or so as sort of fans have begun, the throngs of people have begun trickling in and
Not that
congregating?
Not that I'm aware of. And actually, we did a short-term license with AT&T to be on the property up until now, and then here for board approval to extend the last 2
Oh,
months.
so they are, it's happening now.
Yes, it is happening now on a short-term license, and then here to extend it for the next 2 months to get us through
Perfect.
all the events.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, it's interesting to learn a new acronym, COWS. How many cows are we talking about? Like, I just out of like curiosity, like, are there a lot of them floating around, or like, what does this look like?
On our property, there's just this one.
It's just one,
There's
okay.
one. I do know that there is some others being deployed in other parts of the city.
Okay,
Yes, but just this one on our property.
okay.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Samantha. Item number 4, request authorization to amend a license agreement with CHLN Incorporated for continued use of approximately 5,375 square feet of land adjacent to the Chart House Restaurant on Long Wharf for seasonal outdoor restaurant seating commencing July 1st, 2026, and ending October 31st, 2026, with 2 one-year term renewal options. Samantha.
I'm here to request approval to enter a license agreement with CHLN Incorporated to occupy approximately 5,375 square feet of land adjacent to the Chart House Restaurant on Long Wharf for seasonal outdoor restaurant seating. The Chart House is owned by CHLN Incorporated, but operated under the umbrella of Landry Restaurants, which is headquartered in Houston, Texas. Landry's owns and operates hundreds of eating establishments throughout the United States. Since June of 1998, the Boston Planning and Development Agency has entered into a license agreement with CHLN for 2 outdoor patio locations, comprised of 2,475 square feet of land in the front and 2,900 square feet in the back, and square feet of land in the rear of the restaurant, to be used for seasonal outdoor restaurant seating. Since 2020, the City of Boston Licensing Board piloted an initiative to allow for expanded use of public and private spaces for outdoor dining. The City of Boston charges a monthly fee of $3.99 per patio if alcohol is served. Staff is recommending a continuance of this mutually beneficial business arrangement, and that monthly fee payable to the Boston Redevelopment Authority be consistent with the fees charged by the City of Boston for outdoor dining. The license fee will commence on July 1, 2026, and expire on June 30th, 2027. A 1-year license term with 2 additional 1-year option terms at the discretion of the director, provided that the fee charge remains consistent with or higher than that of the City of Boston outdoor dining program. The fee associated with the license and additional $1,500 security deposit per patio. BPDA staff recommends the director be authorized to enter into a license agreement with CHLN to occupy land adjacent to the Chart House Restaurant on Long Wharf for seasonal outdoor restaurant seating. Thank you. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Samantha. Item number 5, request authorization to establish a demonstration project under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 121B, Section 46F, and to adopt a demonstration project plan for the acquisition of an easement containing approximately 852 square feet for the construction of an interim deployable project, and authorization for the director to acquire the easement and undertake the construction of an interim deployable project, and execute any and all related agreements and documents in connection commencing June 19th, 2026, and ending November 30th, 2026. Rebecca.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Climate Ready Boston has undertaken various initiatives to assess vulnerabilities and develop strategies for resilience since the release of its initial report in 2016. The City of Boston's Planning Department, in collaboration with the Office of Climate Resilience, is addressing the immediate and near-term impacts of climate change related to coastal flooding. The city has identified several low-lying locations that would benefit from interim flood protection measures. These measures are intended to protect communities and assets that have already begun to or soon will start to experience flooding on a more frequent basis before long-term permanent protections are in place. The Main Street Interim Deployable Project addresses the flood pathway located along Main Street in Charlestown. The proposed barrier in this alignment would be specifically engineered to withstand flood conditions corresponding to the projected 2030 1% flood elevation. The barrier runs the length of the new bike lane within the sidewalk, beginning at the high point and continuing downhill, crossing the Shaft Center right-of-way, then the Massport Tracks right-of-way, and terminating at a high point in the neighboring Boston Fire Department. The easement area is approximately 852 square feet, located in the driveway of the Shraff City Center building. The easement agreement would allow for the construction of the deployable flood wall on property owned by the Flatley Company. The easement will be in effect until November 30th, 2026. The BRA must approve a demonstration project under Mass General Law for this project so that the BPDA may utilize its legislative authority to provide public improvements to the property and to prepare plans for the prevention of urban blight. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board?
I just want to underscore the importance of this work, and it's not the type of thing that's going to necessarily generate news headlines, but we think of the weather events caused by climate change and the susceptibility that we as a coastal city have. We have been very, very lucky with a number of superstorms over the last decade, and so preparation is key, and appreciate your work on this and the impact that it will have on our city. So thank you.
We're hoping to shine a little bit of a spotlight on the city's next deployable days here specifically, so hopefully a little bit of.
Can you give some just color to, I'm trying to kind of put a picture in my head of what an interim deployable thing looks like. Can you just, just give me a little bit of a sense of what that is interim, and then what is the permanent after? Is that what we're studying?
Absolutely. So in this location in particular, they certainly vary based on the infrastructure where we're implementing those. Martins Park is another one that's actively under construction and to terminate soon. But in particular, so the deployable component is there's basically 2 stanchions. In this case, there's 8 stanchions, but 2, and then there's really slats that are placed within these stanchions, and that's the part that is deployed. And so in partnership with the Office of Emergency Management, at a point in time in which flooding would be occurred, they would be deployed, they would deploy the slats there and have that protection. And so the idea is that there can be vehicles, in this case, traversing when there's not a flood event happening.
Got it. Okay. So it would always be a deployable situation.
Sorry, so in this location specifically, this is the short-term solution for relatively low dollar value. There is, as part of the Flatley redevelopment of 425 Medford, a broader coastal permanent solution that is proposed, and so that would essentially render this temporary condition unnecessary, but that is also dependent on that project advancing as well. So we wanted to do this now while there's some flooding that is anticipated in the next few years.
Okay. No, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Rebecca. Item number 6, request authorization to enter into a lease agreement with St. Francis House for the use of suites 109 and 110 located at 2 Boylston Street for a period of 5 years commencing June 30th, 2026 and ending May 30th, 2031. Dennis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Located at 39 Boylston Street, directly across the street from the China Trade Center at 2 Boylston, St. Francis House is the largest homeless services day shelter in Massachusetts. Its headquarters has been undergoing a much-needed renovation, which is almost complete. St. Francis House contracted with Demio Construction Company to perform the renovations. Taking advantage of a mutually beneficial opportunity, Demio leased the then vacant 2,783 square foot space on the first floor of 2 Boylston Street in April of 2024. They used it as their construction field office for the renovation. Demio and the planning department allowed St. Francis House to use a portion of that 2,700 square foot space for supportive administrative staff while the renovations were ongoing at 39 Boylston Street. Demio has decided not to exercise their remaining 6-month option in the lease, and they vacated effective May 31st of 2026. St. Francis House has expressed an interest in entering into a lease for that same space directly with the Boston Redevelopment Authority. I think I can speak for the whole planning department that we have an appreciation and respect and gratitude for the services provided by St. Francis House. Those services are very much needed. Staff, including me personally, have had some very frank conversations with St. Francis House that the space at 2 Boylston Street can only be used for administration and human resources, not for onboarding their guests or counseling or life coaching and the like. Simply stated, it cannot become an extension of the shelter at 39 Boylston Street. We have complete agreement with St. Francis House that that will be the case. So I have no concerns about that. The economics of the proposed lease are also very defendable. By leasing the space directly to St. Francis House, we avoid paying a real estate commission and contributing financially to the build-out of a new tenant. The space will be offered in its as-is condition. We'll also avoid the loss of we'll also avoid an extended loss of cash flow while we're waiting to locate a new tenant. In light of these financial benefits and the use restrictions, we're proposing the following: a 5-year lease term with a single 5-year option term. Space is to be accepted in its as-is condition, and no fixed rent payments will be owed until December 1st. So basically, we'll give them 6 months free rent to spend their own money to tidy it up to their satisfaction. Rent will start at $27 per square foot, and will increase by $1 a square foot per year. While the Class B office market is showing some early signs of rebound, we believe that the proposed rate is reflective of the market for Class B space offered in its as-is condition. I believe that the economics net the planning department at least 50% more direct revenue than if we were to go to market looking for a stand arm's length tenant. And I personally believe it's a very productive use of this publicly owned real estate, and I'm asking for your vote.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
Just appreciate the department's, interest to help sustain this organization. It seems like a win-win.
I agree with you. It is very much a win-win.
Yeah, ditto. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Item number 7, request authorization to execute a memorandum of agreement with the City of Boston, acting by and through its Property Management Department, to formalize the assignment of municipal protective services personnel on BRA-managed properties, including the China Trade Center, for a period of 1 year commencing July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30th, 2027, at a cost not to exceed $468,864. Rebecca.
Thank you. This is a similar item that was presented on the EDAC agenda, this time for BRA properties, which include the China Trade Center. And as noted, the cost is not to exceed $468,864. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Item number 8, request authorization to award final designation status to the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association Incorporated for the sale and redevelopment of parcel S-12C in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-24, also known as 48 Townsend Street in the Roxbury neighborhood. Ben.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. We are excitedly requesting board approval to award final designation status to the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association for the redevelopment and sale of parcel S-12C in the Washington Park Urban Renewal Area in the Roxbury neighborhood. This parcel is approximately 17,000 square feet, abutted on all sides by privately owned housing sites with an unpaved driveway from Townsend Street. After a community process, the BPDA issued an RFP for these parcels in May 2023. Based on review and evaluation with the community, the proposal from the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association was selected as the most highly advantageous, and their designation has been extended until May of next year, which you voted on last month. Next slide. On the property, the redeveloper envisions a transformation of the underutilized property into a vibrant community garden and neighborhood green space featuring communal raised garden beds, landscaped open areas, seating, and accessible pathways. I'll stop for a second. Left is what is currently there, right is the proposed, FYI. The garden will serve local residents, families, seniors, and nearby students by providing opportunities to grow fresh produce, learn sustainable gardening practices, and participate in community programming. In addition to supporting food access and environmental education, the space will function as a gathering place for neighborhood events, workshops, and informal recreation. Managed and maintained by the redeveloper, the project will create a welcoming community asset that promotes health, sustainability, and stronger neighborhood connections. Since receiving its tentative designation, the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association has worked to finalize their design plan, operations and maintenance plan, provide evidence of necessary financing, find a suitable contractor, and review a draft deed and land disposition agreement. Following this vote, the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association anticipates finalizing all of these things. They are funding agreements, finalizing the plans and permits needed for work related to a retaining wall on the side of the property, signing a deed and LDA with the BPDA, and then starting construction later this year. Therefore, we are recommending you award final designation status to the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association. And thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Item number 9, request authorization to execute a contract with Northeastern Tree Services Incorporated for arborist services at BRA-owned properties citywide for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year term renewal options and for a total contract amount not to exceed $296,900. Francis.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board, Director Shen. This is the same vote as we had previously for EDIC, except we have a much larger tree canopy citywide than we do in the Raymond L. Flynn Marine Park. But it's the same contractor, same amount of money, same vote.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody have any additional questions? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Francis. Item number 10, request authorization to amend the contract with Weston and Sampson Engineers Incorporated LLC for historic envelope preservation and stabilization for the Chain Forge, also known as Building 105 in the Charlestown Navy Yard, to increase the contract amount by $387,345 and to approve a 20% contingency in the amount of $77,468. For a total amended contract amount not to exceed $464,813 and a total aggregate contract amount not to exceed $253. Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm here to request authorization to amend the engineering design services contract with Weston and Sampson for the historic envelope preservation and stabilization project at Chain Forge, Building 105, in the Charlestown Navy Yard. This matter was last before you in May 2025 when the board authorized the original design services contract in the amount of $313,440, including contingency. Chain Forge is considered a significant historic asset, however, it remains vacant due to hazardous materials and deteriorating envelope conditions. This project is intended to stabilize and preserve the building envelope while coordinating with the separate brownfields environmental remediation project currently underway. The original authorized contract with Weston and Sampson to evaluate the building's roof, structural systems, and deteriorated conditions, identify immediate public safety measures, and develop conceptual repair alternatives to prevent further damage and deterioration. We are now requesting additional funds to advance the project into the next phases of design and construction support services. This amendment will fund the schematic design development, preparation of construction documents, bidding assistance, and construction administration services. The consultant will prepare 60% and 100% construction documents, coordinate with BPDA urban design and historic preservation review requirements, assist during public bidding, and provide construction phase support including RFIs, submittal review, site visits, and closeout documentation. The original contract amount was $313,440. We are requesting an increase of $387,345 plus a 20% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $464,813. Upon approval of this amendment, the total contract value will increase to $778,253. Funding for this amended contract is included in the fiscal year 26 capital construction budget. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? I do have a question. I'm sort of trying to read the sentence over again, but the 60% of the construction document, it's like, who does the 40, the extra 40 to make it 100?
Yeah, so
don't
we are
understand.
advancing it into the 60 and 100%. We have already completed the 25% conceptual designs with Weston and Sampson as well.
Oh,
So
okay,
we're looking for
okay.
an amendment to expand beyond to those finalized documents.
Got it, okay. Great, any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Rebecca. Again. Item number 11, request authorization to did I just read that, or there's two
It's a
separate?
different
there's-
one.
It's a different, but it looks similar. Okay. Request authorization to execute a contract with Weston and Sampson Engineers Incorporated for environmental engineering design services for Chain Forge Building 105, Brownfield Environmental Remediation, in the Charlestown Navy Yard in the amount of $893,122.30, and to further execute a 15% contingency in the amount of $133,968.35 for a total aggregate contract amount not to exceed $1,027,090.65. Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm here to request authorization to award and execute a new contract with Weston and Sampson for the environmental engineering design services for Building 105 Brownfield's environmental remediation project. Since acquisition by the BRA, environmental investigations have consistently identified hazardous materials that prevent occupancy in Chain Forge, including PCBs, heavy materials, petroleum compounds, and other contaminants. While remediation efforts undertaken by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers significantly reduce risks, additional cleanup work remains necessary. In September of 2025, BPDA successfully secured a $4 million EPA Brownfields grant award for this project. In addition to the federal funding, BPDA has committed $500,000 towards environmental remediation and $2.5 million towards stabilization and preservation of the historic building envelope, representing a total public investment of approximately $7 million. In October of 2025, the board authorized staff to issue an RFP for a qualified environmental professional to support implementation of the Brownfields cleanup effort. The selected consultant will provide environmental and engineering services, EPA grant administration support, community outreach assistance, preparation of his construction documentation, construction oversight, and coordination with the concurrent historic envelope preservation and stabilization project. The RFP was developed in close coordination with the EPA. 2 proposals were received and evaluated in accordance with BPDA procurement requirements and EPA criteria. Weston and Sampson was ultimately selected based on its extensive Brownfields grant expertise, strong understanding of the project, demonstrated capacity to perform the work, and overall value to the authority. While another proposal was received, Weston and Sampson achieved the highest overall ranking during the evaluation process. We are requesting authorization to execute a contract with Weston and Sampson in the amount of $893,122.30 and to approve a 15% contingency. The total contract authorization being requested is $1,027,090.65. Funding for this project is available through the EPA Brownfields grant and BPDA fiscal year 26 capital budget. This work is a critical step towards advancing environmental cleanup, preserving a nationally significant historic structure, and positioning Building 105 for future redevelopment opportunities through disposition. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? I do have one question. So typically, we typically choose a lot of times the lowest and most responsible bidder, but in this instance, it wasn't the lowest bid, right, that we received. Can you just give me some context?
Absolutely. So the bids were relatively similar. I think through the evaluation process, before we open up the bid documents themselves with the financials, we evaluate the proposals, and Weston and Sampson ranked highly across all of the categories, and the other proposal did not rank as highly. And so in that case, we had already prioritized and preferenced as part of the evaluation, Weston and Sampson. And so when we opened the bids, that did certainly inform our evaluation. But I think given the closeness of the bids that we received back and Weston and Sampson's ability to execute, we felt more strongly going with them.
Okay, great. Additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 12, request authorization to issue a request for proposals for construction management services for the Little Mystic Channel Harbor Walk Extension Project at the Little Mystic Channel in Charlestown. Rebecca.
Thank you. The Little Mystic Channel Harbor Walk project proposes to construct a missing section of the Boston Harbor Walk to improve pedestrian connectivity in an area currently categorized by busy truck routes and limited pedestrian infrastructure. The proposed Harbor Walk extension is located on BRA-owned property along the northeast corner of the Little Mystic Channel, adjacent to Terminal Street, the Autoport, and the existing Harbor Walk network. The project also supports the broader open space vision for the neighborhood and complements ongoing investments associated with Berry Field, the Charlestown High School athletic fields, and the Little Mystic boat ramp. In December of 2025, the board authorized the director to advertise and issue an invitation for bid for construction of the Harbor Walk extension project. However, the original construction contract and design scope did not include construction management services. Therefore, BPDA staff is seeking authorization to procure a qualified professional engineering consultant to provide construction management oversight for the project. The scope of services will include part-time resident engineering services, weekly field reports, review of submittals, responses to requests for information and change orders, and project closeout services, including punch list, coordination, and as-built documentation. The requests for proposals will be publicly advertised and procured in accordance with Massachusetts public bid law and all applicable City of Boston procurement requirements. Funding for this work is included in the agency's fiscal year 26 capital construction budget. Therefore, we are requesting to be authorized to advertise and issue an RFP for construction management services for the Little Mystic Channel Harbor Walk Extension Project. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks, Rebecca. Gosh, Rebecca, it was just a
Two more.
Rebecca show. Rebecca show. I was just like, I flipped the page and I was like, whoops, so Rebecca. Okay. Number 13, request authorization to execute a contract with Northern Contracting Corporation for the installation of building security systems at the China Trade Center located at 2 Boylston Street in the amount of $1,014,100 with a 10% contingency in the amount of $101,410 for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,115,510. Rebecca.
Thank you. This matter was last before you in January 2026 to request authorization to publicly advertise and issue an IFB for this work. The project scope includes the replacement and installation of modern security infrastructure throughout the building, including access control devices, cameras, card readers, perimeter surveillance equipment, and related electrical and masonry work required to support the new systems. The design of the security systems and construction documents were prepared by CHA Consulting pursuant to the design contract previously authorized by the board in October of 2023. The project was competitively bid and publicly advertised on April 6, 2026, in accordance with Chapter 149 of Mass General Law. Filed subbids for the electrical work were received on May 5, 2026, and general bids were opened on May 21, 2026. 2 bids were received. The lowest eligible and responsible bidder was Northern Contracting Corp. In the amount of $1,014,100. All documents required by Chapter 149 and the IFB were submitted by Northern Contracting Corp., and BPDA staff recommend awarding Northern as the lowest eligible and qualified bidder. The total contract award is $1,150,510, which includes a recommended contingency of 10%. Funding for this work is included in the agency's fiscal year 26 capital construction budget. Therefore, we are requesting authorization for the director to award and execute a contract with Northern Contracting Corp. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 14, request authorization to approve the transfer of 3 separate parcels conveying parcel P-17B located at 1225 Washington Street in the South End Urban Renewal Project area, project number Mass R-56, parcels RL-4 and RL-5 located along Lindborough Place in the South Cove Urban Renewal Area, project number Mass R-92, and 2 non-urban renewal parcels located at 103 and 105 Fisher Avenue in Mission Hill to the City of Boston Parks and Recreation Department. Rebecca.
Thank you. I'm here to request authorization to transfer 5 parcels across 3 distinct project areas from BPDA to the City of Boston Parks and Recreation Department. All parcels directly abut existing city parks and are maintained by the Parks Department as part of their management of those parks. This vote and transfer would formalize the existing function of these parcels while permanently protecting them as public open space. The first parcel for transfer is parcel P-17B, located at 1225 Washington Street in the South End. This nearly 22,000 square foot parcel forms the southeasternmost edge of Peters Park, running parallel to Washington Street. The larger adjacent parcel, P-17A, forms a majority of Peters Park and was transferred from the BPDA to the Parks Department in 1991. The next 2 parcels for transfer are parcels RL4 and RL5 located at 1 and 4 Lindenborough Place in Bay Village in the South Cove Urban Renewal Area. These parcels are extremely small, each measuring less than 10 square feet, and do not have direct street access. The contiguous properties are bounded by Elliott Norton Park on 3 sides and private residences on the 4th. The final 2 parcels for transfer are non-urban renewal parcels located at 103 and 105 Fisher Avenue in Mission Hill neighborhood. Taken together, these 2 parcels total 8,000 square feet of densely wooded land contiguous to the adjacent McLaughlin Playground Park. Following this requested transfer, these parcels will be brought before the Parks Commission for their formal vote to accept the properties into their inventory. As a final step, staff would record their deeds for a nominal fee of $1 each. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks,
Thank you.
Rebecca. Drink a glass of water. All right, item number 15, report on Zoning Board of Appeals recommendation on trends in the recommendations written by BPDA planner to the Zoning Board of Appeal between 10/1/2025 and 3/31/2026, and trends in as-of-right permitting between 5/1/24 and 5/1/26. Tharika and Jesus.
Thank you so much, Chair Rojas, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Tharika Lakamwasam. I am a planning assistant on the zoning reform team, and I'll be presenting on the ZBA recommendations from the planning department during the 6-month period between October 2025 to March 2026. Later in the presentation, my colleague Jesus Mendoza Gonzalez will discuss the impact of rezoning in East Boston. Between 2023 to 2025, the Zoning Board of Appeal had an 8 to 10% decrease in volume of cases. This decrease could be attributed due to a broader economic conditions as well as incremental progress of zoning reform. Next slide, please. Overall, from October 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, there have been a total of 321, including deferrals from the ZBA, sub-Article 80 cases. The Planning Department wrote 274 recommendations, excluding 4 deferral recommendations, while the ZBA issued 274 final decisions and 47 deferrals. When looking at our last report from the period of April 1st, 2025 to September 31st, 2025, this time period, which in this time period only had 268 decisions. Next slide, please. The previous table did not include the 39 Article 80 projects that came before the ZBA. The decisions of these projects were 24 approved, 4 approved with provisos, 10 deferred, and 1 withdrawn. The table on this slide shows a 44% increase of Article 80 cases coming before the ZBA between 2023 to 2025. Next slide, please. During the 6-month period, the Planning Department recommended approval for 250 cases, and of those 250 cases, 67% were approved and 33% were approved with proviso. Furthermore, the Planning Department and the ZBA had the same recommendation and decision for 198 cases out of the 274 final decisions, which is a 72% agreement rate. The breakdown of all 321 cases, similarities, and differences between the ZBA and the Planning Department can be found below. Next slide, please. Through this table and with the rest of the 2025 cases, we'll be able to create benchmarks about the cases that only receive conditional use permits, cases that receive permits that include a variance permit, and the total number of cases without deferrals for each neighborhood. The top 5 violations of all cases were 1, FAR excessive, 2, side yard insufficient, 3, rear yard insufficient, 4, parking or loading insufficient, and 5, lot area insufficient. Next slide, please. Further reports will continue to feature preliminary data for other rezoning and modernization efforts as we continue to track our progress towards reducing reliance on the Zoning Board of Appeal. For the next part of this presentation, I'll be passing off to my colleague to discuss the impact of rezoning in East Boston.
Good afternoon, Chair Rojas, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Jesus Mendoza Gonzalez, and I am a comprehensive planner with the comprehensive planning team. This final section provides an early look at permitting activity in East Boston since the updated neighborhood zoning was adopted in 2024, April 2024, I should say. We're looking specifically at as-of-right projects, meaning projects that can move forward under the zoning without needing relief from the Zoning Board of Appeal. The goal is to understand what kinds of projects are now able to move forward under Plan East Boston and what early permitting activity tells us about implementation. Next slide, please. So, over the 2-year period, 81 as-of-right projects were filed. The important takeaway here is the range. These filings are not concentrated in one category. They reflect different ways residents, property owners, and businesses are using the updated code. In 26 cases, homeowners were able to add or expand residential properties. In 21, applicants moved forward with new construction. Another 21 filings involved commercial use or occupancy changes, while 13 supported exterior or accessibility improvements to existing buildings. So the early picture is not just one of large development. It is also one of homeowners adding space, businesses adapting, and existing buildings being able to improve or be made more accessible. Next slide, please. Looking beyond the overall filings, the issued permits help us show which types of projects are already moving forward. What we see is not, again, a single pattern. Some issued permits are supporting commercial reuse and new neighborhood services, while others are supporting new residential construction, additions, ADUs, accessory dwelling units, I should say, alterations, and then, of course, occupancy-related changes. So this gives us a useful next layer of detail where we can suggest that activity is not only broad on paper, but it is beginning to show up in actual permitted projects. Next slide, please. So commercial activity gives us some of the clearest examples of everyday neighborhood outcomes. The issued commercial permits include 2 daycare facilities, 3 coffee shops, 6 personal care and grooming services, and 1 ground floor commercial or office space. Examples include Little Steps Child Care Center, Café dello Sport Isti, Avanti Hair Fashions, and commercial office space at 301 Border Street. These are the kinds of uses residents interact with directly: childcare, coffee shops, salons, barbershops, small businesses, and active ground floor spaces. And so in practical terms, the code update is allowing existing buildings and commercial spaces to adapt over time and better serve everyday neighborhood needs. Next slide, please. On the residential side, the issued permits also show projects moving forward at different scales. Examples include 5 triple-deckers, 1 double-triple-decker, 1 12 multifamily residential project, and 1 larger Article 80 mixed-use project. A good example is 355 Bennington Street, shown on the lower right. That project represents a larger end of the activity capture here with 170 mixed-use development with ground floor commercial space. At the same time, the triple-deckers and smaller multifamily projects show incremental housing being added across individual sites. So the point is that not all residential activity looks the same. East Boston is both seeing smaller infill housing and larger residential growth moving forward through issued permits. Next slide, please. This final slide highlights another part of the story, which is growth through existing structures or existing buildings. Permits for accessory dwelling units or ADUs, residential conversions, small-scale rebuilds, and vertical additions show that new homes are also being created within East Boston's existing neighborhood fabric. This is a quieter but important form of growth. It allows the housing supply to increase while working with buildings and lots that are already part of the neighborhood. And together with commercial activity and new construction permits, this points to a more balanced pattern of change, new housing, small business activity, and reinvestment in the existing buildings and neighborhood. Taken together, the first 2 years show that East Boston's updated zoning is beginning to function across several important sites. It is allowing new businesses to open, helping families and property owners improve their homes. It is supporting housing production at multiple scales, and it is also creating more opportunities for existing buildings to adapt. These are still early signs, but they are measurable signs that as-of-right activity is moving forward under the updated zoning. Thank you for your time. I am very happy to be here, and my colleague Tarika and I would be glad to take any questions.
Okay, thanks so much. And first, let me apologize, Tharica, for mispronouncing your name. I'll get that right next time. Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Tharica, and thank you, Jesus. I really enjoy these briefings because it's just so fascinating to see. And again, I think this department deserves credit for really embracing transparency as it relates. So great. So just one question which I found interesting. On an earlier slide, 2025 was the first of the last 3 years to reject or to deny one without prejudice, one flat denial, or one without prejudice, one flat denial, Article 80 projects at the ZBA. What were those projects?
I don't have those answers on me currently, but I am happy to send that over.
Yeah, no, just more out of curiosity, because
Yeah.
obviously it gets to that point. These have been very, very well vetted, so I was more curious. And again, for those who are watching, denied with prejudice allows for a little more flexibility to come back.
Correct.
Straight out denied, you ain't coming back, for a year at a
Yes.
minimum. So that's curious what caused those. So yeah, I'd love to share that.
been on the board for that one.
But that's all. Thank you both, and thank you to your teams.
Thank you.
Okay, additional questions or comments?
Yeah, I guess it would be helpful to hear what you guys think this data is telling us and how it will be used or how it should be used.
Sorry. We're using this data to mostly show how our zoning reform is working. It's really important for not only us, but the city in general to see that the work that we are doing is showing incremental progress for our ZBAs, and also that we're making the ZBA process shorter and easier for our constituents to be building, and that our initiatives in the future are going to be also helpful to this process as well.
Additional questions or comments? I do want to say this is, I love this informational update. Look forward to it every quarter. Can't believe we're already here to the next quarter. But can you just refresh my memory from a timeline perspective, kind of what that variance is, right? When something can go through as of right versus kind of a prior typical timeline.
Right. So when you have a by right project, it usually takes 1 to 4 months. I think Kathleen will answer the actual.
I think it does really depend on the project, and it, as Board Member Bennett was asking, right? Part of why we're cutting this data so many different ways is because of the complexity. Something might be as of right for zoning and going through complicated permitting at Concom or the Landmarks Commission or one of our sister regulating departments. That's part of why we've started breaking out the conditional uses versus with the variance, because those are ways we want to understand how the zoning is working. It's also part of why we're doing these deep dives into seeing what's actually changed and what's going through in places where we've done the zoning, so we can see the sort of multifaceted way those impacts. Variances are granted as legal rights for a period of 1 year. They're renewable on an annual basis if you have not filed your building permit for up to another sort of year period. You have to demonstrate hardship of why you haven't been able to file your building permit, that you're waiting for some other component of fire review, some other permitting activity, or have run out of funds to be able to embark on the project. So they do expire, right, as a sort of legal right that is granted, as it's entirely possible that some of the variances that are granted here that we're bringing you in these totals may expire. They may also just be renewed on a basis. That is also part of that difference of lagging, is part of why we wanted to show you a little bit of the difference between what's filing as of right versus what's actually made it through the fire department, all other components of permitting, to actually advancing through construction. And that's because we take really seriously our role as part of the sort of overall permitting ecosystem in the city. We can be a big part of helping speed up some of that appropriately at the small scale, but we also have to be really mindful of where all of our sister departments are in part of that process and the ways that it impacts overall timelines.
Great. Yeah, and I just, again, I love the level of detail and analysis that's going into this, and to get these early these early results. So thank you for that. You know, dream come true. Been looking forward to to seeing the results for these. So it's great to see. So keep up the great work. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? This is just informational, so really appreciate the information.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That was a fun one. B16, okay. Item number 16, request authorization to grant permission to sign the Municipal Planning Board notification form on behalf of the board, signifying that the board has been notified of the intention of Sale Boston Incorporated to file a Chapter 91 license application with the Department of Environmental Protection. Ted.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Ted Schwartzberg, Assistant Deputy Director for Planning Review. Next month, Boston Harbor will host Sail Boston from July 10th through July 16th. Many vessels will dock at existing piers and wharves. However, because current facilities within Boston Harbor can't provide sufficient docking space, Sail Boston has submitted a Chapter 91 license application to the State Department of Environmental Protection to install temporary pile-held floats in the water sheet at the Moakley Federal Courthouse, located at 12 Northern Avenue on the right side of this image, and in the water sheet off Wharf 8, located at 288 Northern Avenue on the left side of this image. The temporary pile-held floats will be used for docking commercial passenger vessels during the 2026 Sail Boston event only. There's no need for a vote. Following this evening, staff will inform the Department of Environmental Protection that our board has been notified of this Chapter 91 application. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't take a vote. Okay.
That's all.
All right. Do we have any questions? We're not voting, but it's still information. Does anybody? Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Okay. Item number 17, request authorization to issue a certificate of completion for the successful completion of the Alston Lab Works project located at 250 through 280 Western Avenue and 305 Western Avenue pursuant to Section C.4 of the cooperation agreement by and between the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency and Alston Lab Works Developer LLC dated August 4th, 2022. This is just a certificate of completion, so there's no presentation. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the ayes have it. Motion passes. Item number 18, request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed construction of 20 residential rental units, including 3 IZ units, and 28 bicycle parking spaces located at 170 through 172 Western Avenue, and to execute a community benefit agreement and to take all related actions. Dan.
Thank you, and good morning, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen. My name is Daniel Polanco. I'm the project manager for the small project before you this evening, property located at 170, 172 Western Avenue in the Alston neighborhood. On February 20th, 2026, the proponent, 170 Western Ave Realty LLC, filed an application for a small project review for the plan with the planning department for the development of a 4,979 square foot commercial site situated at 170, 172 Western Avenue in Alston, at the intersection of Western Avenue and Travis Street, for the construction of a new 8-story mixed-use building. The planning department sponsored and held a virtual meeting on March 16th, 2026. With the meeting posted at the planning department's webpage, and the notification was emailed to all subscribers at the planning department's Alston's neighborhood update list. The public comment period for this project ended on March 31st, 2026. Next slide, please. The proposed project looks to construct a new 8-story mixed-use building utilize mass timber frame construction containing 20 residential rental units, 2 ground floor retail spaces with a dry cleaner and a beauty nail salon, and no off-street parking spaces. With the seven two-bedroom units containing one 3-bedroom units and three of residential rental units with low-income restricted units. And also, in addition to that, this project will also maintain the dry cleaner that is currently there. It's been there since 1960s, and that's one thing that the community has been asking about. And it will remain there, as well as a new beauty nail salon on the ground floor. In addition to that, the project will also include a $5,500 BTD contribution as well. With that, I'll now turn over to my colleague Michelle Yee to speak on the zoning slides.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Good evening. My name is Michelle Yee, and I am the planner assigned to this project. The proposed project at 170 to 172 Western Avenue is located within the Alston-Brighton Neighborhood Zoning District within the Barry's Corner Community Commercial or CC1 subdistrict. This portion of Western Avenue is a key node of Barry's Corner, a formerly underutilized area turned into a pedestrian-friendly destination within the area, highlighted with the Trader Joe's. In regards to transportation, there are 3 blue bike stations within 0.2 miles of the project site. Additionally, it is 0.9 miles to the Boston Land commuter rail station and has access to the MBTA 66, 70, and 86 bus routes. Next slide, please. The proposed project also falls within the study area of the Western Avenue Corridor Study and Rezoning, also known as WACR-Z, which was adopted by the BPDA Board in October 2022 and codified into zoning in November 2022. WACR-Z established a guide for new development along Western Avenue that will provide necessary housing, support an optimized mix of land uses, and create new open spaces. It also created new zoning for large-scale development through planned development areas or PDAs. Although the proposed project does not qualify as a PDA, it is still consistent with the planning principles and goals behind WACR-Z through contributing to a vibrant Barry's Corner with the creation of housing and commercial units while also increasing setbacks to help expand sidewalks along Western Avenue. While the proposed project will need variances for dimensional regulations, including height and FAR, zoning relief is appropriate given the proposed project's consistency with the local planning context, as well as the provisions of Section 7-3 of the Zoning Code. Thank you, and now I'll turn it over to my colleague Andrew Zimmerman from the Urban Design Division to present the project in more detail.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Zimmerman, and I am the urban designer assigned to this project. This proposal sets the building back to align with Boston Complete Streets guidelines, establishing a pedestrian-oriented frontage along both Western Avenue and Travis Street. The primary retail space opens directly onto this Western Avenue elevation, reinforcing an active public realm. Streetscape enhancements include removing an obsolete curb cut on Travis Street and planting 4 new trees, 1 on Western Ave and 3 on Travis Street, to enrich the pedestrian experience. New curb ramps and a crosswalk will be installed at Travis Street, while the project will accommodate improved bike infrastructure along Western Ave. Next slide, please. The proponent proposes replacing their single-story building at 170 to 172 Western Ave with a 8-story mixed-use structure. The new building will feature ground floor retail bays, rental apartments above, and a common roof deck. The building massing is responsive to the planning context and anticipated improvements at the neighboring site, 180 Western Avenue. Designed with a mix of brick and metal cladding and large format punched openings, the building places its residential entrance on Travis Street. Additionally, the proponent is exploring reincorporating elements of the beloved Flint Cleaners existing sign into the proposed project as a way to honor the site's history and character. Thank you, and I will now turn it back to Daniel Blanco.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, this concludes our presentation for the item. We have the development team here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions or comments from the board?
Just curious, what's the bedroom breakdown for the 3 IDP units?
My name is Dan Chen, architect, and the IDP breakdown is 2 bedrooms and one bedroom.
Okay, thank you. And it's just what, the number of 3-bedroom units is just 1, correct?
That is correct, and that's on the top floor.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question.
Please.
And for the mass timber, love to see mass timber on these buildings.
I was like, hoping you're going to ask that.
Definitely. Any of the mass timber, will it be exposed or shown through any openings?
So because of the building height, we're taking advantage of mass timber, which is a special sort of type 4 construction in the new building code. Our goal is to expose as much as we can within the context of fire protection and life safety, and so we're hoping to do that.
And does this building exceed the 85 feet, or?
It's at 85. It's at 85 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck. Item number 19. Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed construction of 16 residential rental units, including 2 IDP units, 16 car parking spaces, and 16 bicycle parking spaces located at 24 Mount Everett Street, and to enter into an affordable rental housing agreement and restriction, and to enter into a community benefits agreement, and to take all related actions. Jack.
Thank you and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Jack Gilman, and I'm a project assistant with Development Review. I'm here before you to present the small project located at 24 Mount Everett Street in the Dorchester neighborhood. On September 3rd, 2024, McGregor One LLC filed a small project review application for a proposal that redevelops the 14,429 square foot site and consists of a renovation in addition to the existing structure. The BPDA hosted a virtual public meeting on October 1st, 2024. The public meeting was noticed on the BPDA's events calendar and sent to the Dorchester neighborhood distribution list. The comment period ended on October 11th, 2024. Following a project update, a supplemental filing was submitted to the BPDA on April 23rd, 2026, which initiated a second public comment period. A second public meeting was held on May 7th, 2026. And the comment period ended on May 26, 2026. Next slide, please. The proposed project looks to create an addition to the existing 3-story, 6-unit multifamily dwelling. The addition will be to the rear of the existing structure, remaining at 3 stories in height. The total gross floor area of the building will be up to 21,585 square feet. The existing structure will undergo renovation, which includes moderate facade changes and construction to allow for basement bicycle parking. The proposed project will add 10 residential rental units to the existing 6 units to create an up to 16-unit residential rental building. The proposed residential rental units include 10 one-bedroom units, 5 two-bedroom units, and 1 studio unit. And 2 out of the 16 units will be affordable units. The proposed project will also provide up to 16 off-street vehicular parking spaces as well. And with that, I will turn it over to my colleague Ford DeVecchio to present the planning context for the project.
Okay.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Ford DelVecchio, and I'm the planning reviewer assigned to this project. The proposed project is situated on Mount Everett Street, in a primarily residential area consisted of mainly 3-story, 3-family homes. This fully residential project is designed to integrate the surrounding neighborhood, the existing structure will undergo a renovation and construction to allow for a rear addition and basement bicycle parking. The front-facing facades will remain as currently constructed in order to maintain consistency with neighborhood context. Located 0.7 miles from both the Uphams Corner commuter rail station and the Four Corners / Geneva station, the proposed project is well served by transit. Next slide, please. The proposed multifamily use is an existing condition found in the site, with 6 units in the existing dwelling. The proposed project's atypical parcelization merits zoning relief due to its unusual size and shape. While the subject parcel is roughly 3 times as large as the typical parcel found on this block, due to its mid-block location, subdivision would not be practical. The large parcel size mitigates overall density and allows for a design that preserves much of the usual existing contextual streetscape. Thank you, and I will now turn over to my colleague Seth Reisman from the UD department to discuss the project in more detail.
Cool.
Thank you, Ford. Seth Reisman, Urban Design, and I'm actually here standing in for the urban design reviewers who could not be here tonight. And I'm also learning how to use my new reading glasses while also looking long distance, so please
I'm
excuse
fully
me
in the this zone, so yeah.
if I get this a little wrong here, but the irregular T-shaped site allows for the preservation of several mature trees in the backyard, helping to maintain significant existing tree canopy. Additionally, 25 new canopy and understory trees, which are significant for the size of this site, will provide long-term environmental benefits for the neighborhood. The majority of the parking is placed beneath the addition and screened from the street. A new at-grade entrance provides accessibility while overall maintaining the existing structure's relationship to the street. Next slide, please. This lovely 19th century single-family dwelling, which you see the front on the left, with a mansard roof, symmetrical bays, and a miniature conical tower and side porch, will be preserved, helping to retain the consistency of scale along Mount Everett Street. The rear addition allows for new residential units to be integrated into this community in a sensitive manner. The parking will be mostly out of sight. We believe this to be a strong example of creative, adaptive reuse, allowing for additional housing while respecting the existing neighborhood context. And I'll turn it back to Jack.
Thank you, and that concludes the presentation, and the proponent team is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Can you just go back to the slide before that, just showing the picture? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
Just a comment to, again, thank the teams involved on the adaptive reuse. It's not only the right sustainability play, but the aesthetics matter, you know? I think all of us drive around sometimes and see new projects that seem boxy or lacked character, you know, particularly in this neighborhood. To be able to preserve that facade, I think is really important. It's gonna be a much, much better project as a result. So I'm grateful for the work to do that, and I hope we continue to see more of that.
Yeah, I really appreciate this picture because I was trying to figure out, I was like, how do you add 10 more units? But that is an interesting site. Is that just kind of a one-off thing, or do we have like sites like this other places where we could get an extra 10 units in there?
I think this site is a little unique.
Yeah.
I know on the other slide, it shows the parcel, the way it goes to the back, and then has that extra section where the trees are.
Yeah.
I'm sure there could be other projects in the future that could do the same thing, but this site was a little unique
Yeah. No,
in terms of its shape, and I think the proponent team did a good job kind of keeping it at scale with the neighborhood.
yeah, because they're like regular sized units. They're not like micro or anything, right?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, motion is order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Good job, Jack. All right. Item number 20. Like, what? Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed construction of 70 residential rental units, including 11 inclusionary zoning units and 70 bicycle parking spaces located at 11 Avenue de Lafayette, and to accept a quitclaim deed for a certain temporary limited property interest in the project site, and to enter into a pilot agreement for the proposed project, and to take all related actions. Dylan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Dylan Norris. I'm a project manager with the Development Review Division of the Planning Department, and I'm here to present an applicant of Mayor Wu's downtown office to residential conversion program. The proposed Article 80E small project located at 11 Avenue de Lafayette in the downtown neighborhood of Boston, as well as the proposed 121B agreement needed to effectuate the downtown residential conversion incentive pilot program. Next slide. On March 12th, 2026, Tebow Property Development, or the proponent, applied to Mayor Wu and the BPDA's Downtown Residential Conversion Incentive Pilot Program, which was authorized by this board on October 12th, 2023. Based on BPDA staff review under Article 80 and review under the pilot program, the proponent has been selected to receive a pilot agreement based on the program criteria. The proponent will, upon approval by this board, enter into a pilot agreement among the City of Boston and the BPDA. In order to comply with the rules and regulations under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 121B, Section 16, the BPDA must take a property interest in the site. Furthermore, a small project review application was then filed with the Planning Department on May 5th, 2026, submission of which initiated the small project review process. The Planning Department hosted a virtual public meeting on May 26, 2026, which was well attended and well received. The public meeting was noticed on the Planning Department's event calendar, as well as sent to the downtown neighborhood and Chinatown neighborhood distribution lists. The comment period ended on June 4th, 2026. You can go to the next slide. The project site is a 10,821 square foot site in downtown and features a contiguous 5-story plus basement office and commercial building located at 11 Avenue de Lafayette. The project site is then bounded by Chauncey Street to the west, Avenue de Lafayette to the north, and Essex Street to the south. Just for some additional zoning context, the 11 Avenue de Lafayette project is regulated by the Sky subdistrict of the zoning code and sits within the very edge of planned downtown. We do want to note that a small portion of this project is also located within the Chinatown Commercial District. For a further note, while the project is in the Sky District as a performance standard does not allow ground floor dwelling units within the stated goals of planned downtown to diversify ground floor uses as well as maintaining an active street wall. However, the plan also encourages converting underutilized office buildings into housing to enhance the downtown's overall mixed-use character. Given the three unique elevations between Chauncey Street, Essex Street, and Avenue de Lafayette, the proposed project may require a variance from the Board of Appeals pending an interpretation from the Inspectional Service Department for their ground floor residential units. Given the site context on Chauncey and Avenue de Lafayette, where these units are present, the preservation of existing retail on Essex Street, and the 3 to 4 foot elevation change from the right-of-way to the first floor of this building, we feel a variance, if a variance is required, relief would be appropriate. You can go to the next slide. The proposal proposes to convert the existing floors of the building, floors 1 through 5 here, to a residential use, which will create approximately 70 rental units. The conversion is contemplated as an interior renovation of the existing structure. The building footprint, height, massing will remain unchanged, and no enlargement of the extension of floor area is proposed. Existing ground floor retail fronting Essex Street will be preserved and remain in operation in accordance with the Office to Residential Conversion Program requirements. Thank you, and that concludes my presentation. Kimberly Powell from the proponent team is available virtually if we have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
So I don't never presume to speak for my colleagues, but I think I'm safe to say how excited we all are to vote on these. Every meeting, there's one or two new really exciting conversions. So in the packet, it talks about the third aspect of this is entering into a pilot agreement. Do we do that with all these conversions to sort of offset some of the taxes?
There have been a few projects within the Office to Residential Conversion Program that just based on the tax structure of how they have organized their property development, it's not a benefit for them to receive a tax abatement from the city. But the vast majority, I think, we've only had 2 of our 26 not receive the pilot agreement or proceed with the pilot agreement.
And we negotiate that sort of bespoke based on the project?
Yeah, part of the program prior to them filing for Article 80 review is a financial review with our policy team where they kind of, assess whether or not it is viable for them. But given, even if they do not need a tax abatement, having a streamlined review process and a streamlined permitting process does benefit getting these units online faster.
No, I mean, I think we are writing a blueprint for other cities that are facing similar sort of changes in downtown, how to do this. So I think whatever we're doing has been a great initiative, and thank you to you and your team for continuing to bring us these good news. So excited to support it. And it's a great location. It's very close to my work. Some lucky people are gonna live there.
Yes, great location. Definitely excited about the program, but I will echo Councilor Durkin's message last meeting. When it comes to the construction of these projects, we would love to see responsible contractors on these projects. Recently, I was at Madison Park High School with young students that eventually will graduate and will be looking for opportunities to work on projects such as this in this beautiful neighborhood. But with that said, I would also like to ask, one thing you did mention is other cities that have partaken in this basically similar time we started. Do we have like a, not a race, the Celtics lost, the Knicks won, whatever. How
We
are
got more
doing?
affordable housing.
How are we doing compared to other major cities when it comes to these conversions?
I'm going to turn that over to the Senior Policy Manager, John Weil.
I saw you back there.
Good evening, how are you? John Weil, Head of Office to Residential Conversions for the Planning Department. Vice Chair Shepherd, I think it's, as with everything, I think that you have to look at this sort of on a scale basis where often we're compared to New York City. They are, in essence, 10 times bigger than Boston is. And so my understanding in speaking with my counterparts in New York is that they're doing about, call it 2,000 to 3,000 units of housing per year. And so that would put our number at sort of if we were at 10-to-1 at 200 to 300, but we're vastly exceeding that. So we're doing something closer to about 600 to 700 units of housing through this program per year. So it's one of these things where they started back in the 1990s when a lot of Wall Street's activity shifted over to Jersey City with the uptake of internet trading. We've been very fortunate in the city of Boston that office has remained highest and best used up through about 2020. So the conversions like this are a more recent phenomenon here in Boston. So I think that we're very proud of the progress that we've made, and we feel that we've made very meaningful impact. But we always have to do that little bit of mental math of we're a tenth the size of New York City. So when you see articles sometimes just talking about the sheer volume of conversion, we appear lower down on those rankings, but on a per capita basis, I think we are pretty much leading the pack.
Yes. Thank you.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Definitely does. Thank you.
Yeah, and how, what is the unit mix again, like 70?
Split
Are these
between.
micro or like?
There are a couple of units that would fall under the micro range. None of the IZ units have been selected, fall into that AMI range. But the unit breakdown is there where 2 one-bedroom units, 1 two-bedroom units, and 9 studios, which is proportionate to the rest of the studio count.
Yeah,
or
so it's
unit
mainly
count.
studios, like 55 studios, yeah, of the 70. Okay, cool, all right. Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 21. Request authorization to issue a certification of approval pursuant to Article 80E Small Project Review of the Zoning Code for the proposed construction of 21 residential rental units, including 4 IZ units, 15 car parking spaces, 32 bicycle parking spaces located at 662 through 666 East Broadway, and to enter into a community benefits agreement and to take all related actions. Dylan.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Dylan Norris, and I'm a project manager with the Development Review Division of Boston. I'm here to present the Article 80E small project located at 662 to 666 East Broadway, located in South Boston. The proposed project is a 4-story mixed-use residential structure sited on East Broadway and K Street with ground floor retail fronting East Broadway. You can go to the next slide. The project site is approximately 10,000 square feet in size and is currently the location of 2 single-story commercial buildings, 1 3-story residential building, and 1 2.5-story residential building. The project proposes to demolish the existing structures and erect a new building, which will contain 21 residential rental units, including 4 income-restricted units pursuant to Article 79, 1 ground floor commercial unit of approximately 4,800 square feet will be used by the proponent as an expanded space for his existing liquor store business, Dorgan's Package Store. The project will provide below-grade parking for 15 motor vehicles accessed off of K Street. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ford Del Vecchio to give the planning context. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Perfect. The proposed project is located within the South Boston Neighborhood Zoning District's multifamily residential/local service subdistrict, governed by the Zoning Code Article 68. The program and design are both consistent with the existing surrounding context of multifamily and mixed-use buildings along the East Broadway commercial corridor, featuring active commercial uses on the ground floor and residential units above. To clear the site for construction, the proponent intends to demolish 4 existing buildings currently under their ownership: 2 single-story commercial buildings, 1 3-story residential building, and 1 2.5-story residential building. While accounting for the surrounding neighborhood context, staff actively helped shape the project design to ensure the building scale and massing are contextually appropriate for the East Broadway corridor. Furthermore, the proposed parking count and below-grade parking design align with contemporary best practices and Boston Transportation Department policy for transit-rich neighborhoods. Staff ultimately determined that continuing an active ground floor commercial use for the expanded local liquor store will successfully preserve and enhance the neighborhood-serving retail character of the East Broadway corridor. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to my UD colleague, Hee-Young Lee, to discuss the project in more detail.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Hee-Young Lee. I'm a senior landscape architect and primary site design reviewer for this project. In the proposed condition on the right-hand side, the active retail frontage along East Broadway is complemented by public land improvements, including new street trees, short-term bike parking, and permeable furnishing zones that help activate the building entrances while supporting the project's stormwater management strategy. On K Street, the site design contributed to the overall project through a combination of shared outdoor amenity space, landscape improvements, and enhanced pedestrian circulation. The proposed curb extensions at the intersection of East Broadway and K Street will also improve pedestrian visibility and help calm traffic. Next slide, please. The architectural design provides a strong sense of continuity along East Broadway through a cohesive material palette and active ground floor retail frontage. Over the course of the project review, the predominant facade material was revised to brick, and the top floor was stepped back in line with the neighboring building to reduce its visual presence along East Broadway. The project was also refined to increase the side yard on K Street and introduce the landscape entrance court to create a more generous transition to the existing residential fabric. The K Street facade is further articulated through modulation and projected bay windows to help break down the perceived massing and better relate to its surrounding neighborhood. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to the project manager.
Thank you, Hyung. And I just want to leave on a final note that this project has both been responsive to neighborhood and community concerns, as well as planning staff feedback throughout the review process, resulting in revisions to the massing along East Broadway and K Street that you see, as well as revisions to the on-site parking count. This will conclude our presentation for this item, and the development team is available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the board?
I guess I'm just curious, under jobs, second bullet point, 8 permanent jobs, are those the jobs associated with the liquor store?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members, Director Shem, George Moran. I represent the developer here, Singming Chan. Combination of both. Mr. Chan owns the current liquor store that is there. There are a few employees there. He also owns and holds all of his rental properties, all the developments that he's done. 21 units. It's likely that this will have at least a couple people acting as property managers for Mr. Chan. So it's about eight people.
Okay, makes sense. And then what's the, I only asked this because I noticed the number associated with some of the other projects prior to this. What's the Blue Bikes contribution? That wasn't listed on the screen.
I think it's about $657, $75, something like that.
$657.
Yeah, around $6,000. It's whatever the requirement is.
Yeah. No, curious. Good. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look at that.
All right, so we're right at 5:30.
Madam
So we're gonna
Chair,
take
I'm sorry, before we go
Yeah,
to the break,
yeah.
could we take 2 quick votes, please?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's totally fine.
Need to go back to B16, please, where we previously said we do not need a vote. We stand corrected. We do need a vote.
Okay.
If I could ask you to please reread the agenda item and then vote. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So let's go, item number 16, request authorization to grant permission to sign the Municipal Planning Board notification form on behalf of the board, signifying that the board has been notified of the intention of Sale Boston Incorporated to file a Chapter 91 license application with the Department of Environmental Protection. Does anybody have any additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. And then, was there another one? And then, oh, yeah, let's do that so you can skedaddle. Okay, item number 23, request approval of the fiscal year 2027 operating budget of the Boston Redevelopment Authority and the expense amount of $26,545,000. And approval for the fiscal year 2027 capital budget expenditures in the amount of $5,800,000, and approval of the transfer of funds and forgiveness of interagency debt between the BRA and the Economic and Industrial Corporation of Boston, the Boston Local Development Corporation, and the Boston Industrial Development Finance Authority, and approval to enter into any interagency sublease for space, sublease amendments or extensions, and to take and to authorization to take actions and execute documents and agreements related to the transfer in and expenditure or transfer of funds out of the Capital Reserve Fund. Michelle?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen. No presentation, just seeking authorization for the vote. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Thank you. So we are going to take a 5-minute break, so we'll see you in 5 minutes, and then we'll start the public hearing. Welcome back. So we're now moving on to the public hearing portion of the agenda. It is item number 22.
Madam Chair, I will have to recuse myself from item number 22.
Okay, thank you. Right, good afternoon. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Articles 80B-5 and 80C-5 of the Boston Zoning Code to consider the proposed First Amendment to the Master Plan for Planned Development Area Number 128 L Street Station redevelopment at 776 Summer Street in South Boston, and the development plan for Phase 2 within Planned Development Area Number 128 L Street Station redevelopment and Phase 2 project as proposed by HRP 776 Summer Street Prop Co. LLC, care of HRP Group, in conjunction with the Redgate Capital Partners as a development impact project. This hearing was duly advertised on May 27th, 2026. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. So if you're planning to testify via Zoom, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active and click on the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak, and when your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. If you're planning to testify in person at the boardroom, please line up behind the podium after the presentation is concluded and we will call on you. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain, and at that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they desire. Open public meeting law requires that we ask if there's anyone in the audience who's recording this meeting. So if you're recording this meeting, please identify yourself now. Hearing and seeing none. Also, please note that there are no demonstrations of approval or disapproval for members of the public during the meeting. Now, Zoe, please begin the presentation.
Thank you, and good evening, Chair Rojas, members of the board, and Director Shen. My name is Zoe Duval, and I'm a project manager in the Development Review Division of the Planning Department. We are here before you this evening to discuss the proposed 776 Summer Street Phase 2 project and all related actions. The project site is located within approved planned development area number 128 L Street Station redevelopment, 776 Summer Street, which consists of a 15.2 acre site in the South Boston neighborhood of Boston. The existing site consists of developed and formerly industrial land along the Reserve Channel containing the former Edison power plant structures. It's bounded by on the west by Summer Street, on the south by East First Street and Medal of Honor Park, on the east by an MBTA parcel of land, and on the north by the Reserve Channel and Thomas Butler Freight Corridor. The site areas encompassing the Phase 2 project includes 3 buildings on the portion of the PDA site located along East First Street at the corner of East First Street and Summer Street, as well as a building on the north side of the site along the Reserve Channel and Freight Corridor. A PDA master plan for the site was approved by this board on January 14th, 2021. Subsequently, the PDA development plan and Article 80B large project for Phase 1 was approved on January 19th, 2023. The vote before you today is to consider an amendment to the PDA master plan, as well as approval of the PDA development plan and Article 80B large project for Phase 2. The Phase 2 consists of approximately 6.8 acres and includes over 1 million square feet of residential, commercial, and hotel uses across 4 buildings with activated ground floors that includes a mix of retail, conference, cultural, and amenity spaces. The commercial building, Block C, includes one 330,000 square foot building. Residential buildings on Block A and B include one 193,500 square foot building and one 197,000 square foot building. And the hotel building on Block E includes one 305,000 square foot building connected to the existing 1898 turbine hall. The PDA master plan amendment proposes to swap certain building uses, establish new maximum building heights and gross floor area, clarify affordable housing commitments, and clarify the timing and delivery of certain benefits consistent with the Phase 2 project. The proposed project has satisfied the necessary procedural and community process requirements of Article 80. On September 27, 2024, the proponent filed a letter of intent and draft Phase 2 PDA development plan with the Planning Department, initiating the first comment period that was extended to align with the Phase 2 filing. The members of the Impact Advisory Group that had served during both the review of the Planned Development Area Development Plan and the Phase 1 project were given the opportunity to assist the Planning Department with the Article 80B large project and Article 80C amendment review of the Phase 2 project. A supplemental information document was filed for the project on January 17, 2025, which initiated a second comment period. The combined comment period concluded on February 20th, 2025. The Planning Department hosted an IAG meeting on November 4th, 2024, and a public meeting on November 6th, 2024, in connection with the PDA development plan and proposed amendment. The Planning Department also hosted an IAG meeting on January 7th, 2025, and a public meeting on February 3rd, 2025, in connection with the supplemental information document for the 80B portion of Phase 2. Lastly, the Planning Department hosted a closeout IAG meeting on April 21st, 2026, and public meeting on May 5th, 2026. These meetings were all held virtually on Zoom and were duly advertised, posted to the Planning Department's calendar, and email notification was sent to all subscribers of the Planning Department's South Boston Neighborhood Updates. The project was introduced to the Boston Civic Design Commission on November 12, 2024, and considered again on February 4th, 2025, after the 80B filing, with design subcommittee meetings on February 18th, March 18th, April 22nd, May 20th, 2025. There was a final presentation to BCDC on June 3rd, 2025, and the BCDC approved the project at its July 1st, 2025 meeting. Before I conclude, I want to note a couple of key project benefits that will be delivered with this phase of the project. The development team has carried out substantial environmental remediation to restore the site to buildable conditions while preserving and adapting the historic Thomas Edison power plant structures. They will provide a $400,000 payment to the Transportation Department in connection with Phase 2 for the design and implementation of Vision Zero pedestrian improvements at 4 of the 8 neighborhood intersections to be prioritized by the community. The project will also include employment and apprenticeship opportunities by working with local organizations to promote jobs in the construction trades to local veterans as well as high school students. The phase also includes the delivery of 2 acres of public open space, including waterfront activation along the reserve channel. I would also like to clarify that this proposed project has approached the city to consider a payment in lieu of housing for a portion of the income-restricted units at Phase 2. At this time, however, no decisions have been made, and the housing component of the project before you remains consistent with the approved PDA master plan and compliant with the City of Boston's inclusionary development plan. Any changes to this in the future would be subject to approval by the BPDA board and additional community process. Lastly, I want to thank the members of the IAG who have been working on this project for the past 5 years. We have held over a dozen meetings on the project and the PDA, and we sincerely appreciate their commitment. I also want to thank the broader community for their participation in the review of the project and the South Boston delegation, elected delegation and their staff for their continued review and advocacy. A support letter from the South Boston elected delegation was received yesterday and shared with the board. At this point, I would like to hand it off to my colleague, Erin Stanley, to present the planning context for the project, followed by a presentation from the development team. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. My name is Erin Stanley. I'm a new planner on the comprehensive planning team, and I'll be presenting the planning and zoning context for this project. As Zoe mentioned, some notable changes to this development plan proposal included a change in use or a change in location of the uses in the original master plan, swapping the residential and the commercial uses between Block A and C. The plan also proposes changes to building heights in order to better accommodate this swap of uses and adapt to the scale to surrounding developments, including adding step backs along East First Street. The entire PDA master plan area of 776 Summer Street, outlined on the slide before you in black, is located in the South Boston Maritime Economy Reserve subdistrict of the Harbor Park zoning district. Moving clockwise from the subject site, Conley Terminal and the MBTA's emergency power plant are situated to the east, under the same zoning as the subject site. To the southeast is the Medal of Honor Park within an open space subdistrict. To the south, shown in yellow, is developing and existing residential uses within the multifamily residential and multifamily residential local services subdistrict. To the west is previously proposed office, tech, and lab uses within the local industrial subdistrict. And finally, to the northwest, shown in purple on the screen, is the waterfront manufacturing subdistrict. A small portion of the site, the northern portion of the site, is also overlapped by sea fraud and the FEMA flood hazard district, or flood hazard area, and the entire site is in the restricted parking district, or restricted parking overlay district. Next slide. So a variety of planning studies informed planning staff's review and support of the proposal before you today. In 2011, the East and West First Street Planning Study and rezoning established First Street as a transition zone between residential and working waterfront uses and put in place the base zoning that we see today for the subject site and adjacent properties. In 2017, the BPDA conducted a planning study known as the South Boston Edison Power Plant Planning Process Report. This study outlined the street network for the subject site and how uses would connect to adjacent properties and uses. Shown here in the top image, you can see the southwest corner of the site identified as a commercial row and the southeast corner identified as a continuation of green space into the adjacent Medal of Honor Park. In 2018, a South Boston coastal resilience planning study was conducted, which identified flooding potential in the northern part of the site, which is to be developed as waterfront open space and programming. In 2023, the South Boston Seaport Strategic Transportation Plan was concluded, identifying Summer Street as a multimodal corridor with improvements needed at connecting streets to better serve this corridor. And finally, the South Boston Transportation Action Plan is an ongoing plan that provides draft recommendations for First Street and Summer Street, including locations for additional transit connection points, cross-section designs, walkability studies, etc. The proponent has coordinated their design improvements to First Street and Summer Street to meet recommendations in both these transportation plans, and is providing off-site mitigation that will improve unsafe intersections identified as priorities in this transportation action plan. Thank you, and I will now hand off the presentation to the proponent to describe the proposal in more detail. Thank you.
Thanks, good job.
Thank you, Erin. Good evening, Chair Rojas, Vice Chair Shepherd, Director Shen, and members of the board. My name is Melissa Schrock. I'm Executive Vice President of Mixed Use Development at HRP Group. I'm joined by several of my colleagues and our consultant team this evening. On behalf of HRP and our partners at Redgate, we're very pleased to be with you this evening to present Phase 2 of 776 Summer. Next slide, please. Located in South Boston on the reserved channel, the site is adjacent to Conley Terminal and sits at the threshold between the rapidly redeveloping Seaport and the thriving South Boston residential neighborhood. Next slide, please. The transformation of this site has been a long time coming. Formerly a coal-fired power plant, once owned and operated by Thomas Edison himself, the site has been cut off from the community for over 120 years. The plant closed in 2006, but then sat dormant for a decade until we acquired it in 2016 and began permitting the master plan. Between 2021 and 2024, we successfully abated and demolished the defunct plant while preserving 4 magnificent historic turbine halls that we look forward to opening to the public as the project is redeveloped. As Zoe mentioned, we've held 3 IAG meetings, 3 public meetings, hosted public site tours, inviting our neighbors in to experience the unique history of the site during this Phase 2 process. We also held 8 BCDC meetings and received unanimous approval from them last summer. We're very grateful for all the excellent feedback we've received throughout the process from the community, city staff, local leaders, and elected officials, and it has helped to make our project a better project. Next slide, please. At full build, the project includes 6 new buildings and the 4 historic turbine halls, new roadways and open spaces, including a waterfront promenade and the Edison Plaza, with a new section of the Harbor Walk, all connected to the existing park resources in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. The Phase 1, approved in 2023, contains 2 new commercial buildings, blocks D and F, that you can see here in blue, and the adapted reuse of the 3 Edison turbine halls down the middle of the site. Next slide. The Phase 2, before you today, contains 3 residential buildings with up to 636 units, including 16% affordable and workforce units, a hotel involving the adaptive reuse of the 1898 turbine hall, and a commercial building at the corner of Summer and East First Streets. This phase also includes 2 acres of open space, new streets inside the site, and extensive public realm improvements to both sides of the existing East First Street. Next slide, please. Now I'll just walk you briefly around the Phase 2 components. Here you can see Block A, located at the corner of M and East First Streets, across from Christopher Lee Playground. It's planned as a 7-story residential building with up to 220 units. It has a masonry base and design elements that reflect the surrounding urban context. Next slide. And on the opposite corner, Block B is a 10-story building with approximately 250 units. Its massing relates to both the adjacent Turbine Hall 3, you can see in the image, as well as to the existing residential buildings across the street, with a setback on East First Street that pushes the bulk of the mass into the site and away from the neighborhood. Next slide. At the corner of Summer and East First Street, Block C is a commercial building, again, with a setback from the neighborhood on East First Street and an active ground plane to help guide pedestrians into Turbine Alley, a pedestrian-only path that leads from the neighborhood and down to the waterfront. Next slide. And finally, Block E is a combined residential and hotel building designed with a warm-colored facade elements facing the neighborhood and connected to the 1898 building. Next. Which will be preserved and adaptively reused as part of the hotel component, housing the hotel lobby, the lobby bar, and event spaces, such as a ballroom overlooking the waterfront on the north side of the building. Next slide. With Phase 2, we'll also deliver animating public realm components inside the site, such as this pocket park at the northeast corner of Block B, which connects down to turbine halls that you can see in the image, as well as leads people across the street. Next slide, please. To the Edison Plaza, nestled between Blocks E and F, providing a green connection from the neighborhood and guiding folks down to the waterfront. Next slide, please. And lastly, at the northern end of Block E and the 1898 building, we'll deliver this dynamic waterfront overlook, emphasizing the beauty of these historic structures and providing an outdoor space for events. Next slide, please. From a sustainability perspective, the Phase 2 project is designed to align with the City of Boston's carbon neutrality and climate-ready goals. The residential buildings will be all electric, passive house certified, and will achieve at least LEED Silver. The Block C commercial building will achieve LEED Gold, and we're committed to achieving LEED Platinum on at least one of the buildings across the master plan site. We've also committed to 100 kilowatts of on-site renewable energy generation and are currently planning for that on a large PV array on Block F, our largest building on site, which is part of Phase 1. Next slide, please. As we advance design, we're evaluating and incorporating a number of sustainable measures to reduce water and energy use, construction waste, and embodied carbon, and are considering health and environmental product declarations to ensure we select products that are healthy for the planet and the building users. Next slide, please. In terms of community impact, the project has so much to offer. A $74 million investment in abatement, demolition, and remediation of the site, approximately 100 units of affordable and workforce housing, over $20 million in housing and job linkage payments, significant construction and permanent job creation, $20 million in investment in the local community in the form of a scholarship fund, payments for improvements to adjacent City Point parks, internships, apprenticeships, job fairs, and free parking for South Boston residents. nearly 6 acres of open space, a new link in the Harbor Walk, substantial transportation and transit improvements both on-site and in the surrounding neighborhood, and of course, the significant investment in the preservation of the turbine halls, which contains civic space for the community and a historic interpretive plan that celebrates the amazing history of this site. Next slide, please. If we're fortunate enough to receive the board's approval this evening, we look forward to beginning the transformation of this former industrial site into a mixed-use community integrated into the surrounding neighborhood, providing waterfront access, community amenities, and offering new economic opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so since this is a public hearing, we're going to take public testimony first. So if you'd like to testify in person, please step up to the podium and announce your name, affiliation, and your position on the proposed project when you're called to speak. If you're on Zoom and would like to testify, please raise your virtual hand. And
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shen. My name is Tom Ward. I'm the Vice President of the Ironworkers Union. I live in the city. This is a very familiar site to me and to many of us in this room. We drive by and shake our heads at this project, at a lack of development. So I'd like to thank the developers, the team here today. I was at the meetings, I don't know how long ago now, but I was with it for it then, and I'm for it now. It's time to build. It's quite impressive that the community concern package that they've developed here, and I rise in favor. Thank you.
thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Director Shen, my name is Daniel Daly. I'm a lifelong Boston resident. I'm also a business representative for Local 103 with the electricians. And just to echo what Tom said, this is a great project ready to go. It is taking a blighted site and making it a destination in our city, and I'm in full support of this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Shed, my name is Mark DeLassio. I'm a business agent for the Carpenters, Local 327 in Boston. And like my colleagues before, I represent a lot of hardworking carpenters that live and work in the city of Boston, and this project here will create much-needed jobs for our members. I want to commend the development team for their commitment to responsible development, and we're in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room that would like to testify?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Guy Rossman, if you could please unmute yourself.
Hi, yes, my name is Guy Rossman. I'm a resident of the city of Boston with Unite Here Local 26, the hotel workers, and just want to say and get on record that we are in strong support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rossman. Brian Putney, would you please unmute yourself?
Hello, my name is Brian Putney. I appreciate the members of the board, Madam Chair, for allowing us to speak today. I am a member of the South Boston community, have been with my family for the past decade, and just wanted to express my support of this project and everything it's doing to the surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Putney. Mary Fiske, would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak in support of this program, this development. I am a South Boston resident. Actually, I live on M Street, very close. So I'm speaking as a resident, lifelong of South Boston, but also as a longtime member of the nonprofit community in South Boston. This development team has been extremely responsive to the community, to the needs of the community, especially the nonprofit providers. And I'm speaking for myself, but also the South Boston Neighborhood House. We are very much in favor, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Lynch, would you please unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Hello there, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Mr. Lynch.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Steve Lynch, I'm the United States Congressman for the 8th Congressional District. I live in South Boston. I've been to many of the public meetings on this. I think the city's done a great job in providing access to neighbors and giving them, full voice in terms of what they'd like to see here. I think the end project represents the wishes of the community. I think the developer's done a nice job in listening and trying to turn those ideas into reality. I'm old enough to remember, this plant when it burned oil. Even before that, it burned coal. So this was a coal-fired power plant, probably the last one in the city. We've had a lot of lingering health effects under that, in that iteration. This is a refreshing change. There are 636 units of housing here, including 100 below market and affordable units. There's open space here. There's something for everyone. It's got a PLA on it, so a project labor agreement, which allows our unions to be involved here 100%, creates apprenticeship opportunities for everyone in the city, men and women across the city. So it's something we desperately need right now. So I just want to say I'm in favor of this. I also submitted a letter of support with Councilor Flynn, with Senator Collins and Representative Beal that I think you got yesterday or maybe today. That articulates further my support. But I think this is a great project. Like I say, it's a big site. It'll be transformational for this whole area. So I just respectfully urge you to vote favorably on their petition. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman. And just to confirm, we did receive those letters. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Mary Brown, would you please unmute yourself?
Hi, yes, this is Mary Brown. I'm a resident and homeowner here in South Boston. I'm raising my family here as well. We're active parishioners in the Gate of Heaven community as well, and we're very much in support of this project and looking forward to seeing it get off the ground. And it'll be transformative for the families in the area, and we're very much looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to offer testimony here in the room or online? Would you please raise your hand? Eileen Smith, would you please unmute yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eileen Smith, lifelong resident. I live at 776 East Broadway. I have been an active IAG member, participating in every step of this project. Yes, I believe that it is time to go forward. However, there has been a lot of work that has gone into this project with the IAG members, and some concerns, of course, still exist. And I don't mean to, be the disappointing conversation, but Melissa Schrock spoke earlier, and I just want to clarify, we are going to have free parking for South Boston residents. However, those are not full-time parking spaces. So, just to clarify for the purposes of the record, that community benefit, that would be helpful. And also, like Congressman Lynch, I remember the days when we hung out our laundry and our laundry came in with holes from hanging outside from the coal burning. So yes, it is going to be very beneficial, and it also is going to be very difficult for the massive amounts of construction. And the other issue, we have done a lot with the changing of the buildings, making them all in a residential area, which was a very big suggestion, and the IAG members seemed to be in agreement. And we do have, of course, down the road more opportunities to work with other buildings, but the residential units, which is necessary for the project to proceed, are also something that is leaving issues for some of the IAG members with the promise of affordability. I have a stop.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Is there anybody else in the audience? Please raise your virtual hand. Pilar Wingle, would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Pilar Wingle. I'm a resident in the South Boston community. And I just wanted to say that I think now more than ever, especially with the World Cup, we're seeing Boston come together, and we're really seeing this community unify and rally around visitors and around new opportunities. And I think this project specifically is very quintessentially Boston with its both modern features and honoring, the historic neighborhood and the historic features of the land. And so I think it's important that this goes through. And speaking as a younger South Boston resident, I am in support.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wingle. Anybody else who would like to offer testimony, please raise your virtual hand. Madam Chair, this concludes the testimony.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move to questions and comments from the board. So any questions or comments from the board?
I just wanted to clarify the first slide that sort of delineated the affordable units. I think it was 100 out of the 636, and there was a reference to the possibility that the developer may want to swap some on-site for a linkage payment. Is that right? No, okay. So can just clarify what that was?
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
Nupur
Nupur.
Manani, I lead our development review team. So yes, there is a reference to that on the site. And as stated in the board memo currently, the project intends to comply with IDP. The component that you're referencing about the offsite sort of units is something that the city has been requested to consider by the proponent. It was also shared with the IAG in a public meeting. But because we were not able to sort of make a decision and sort of get to consensus on that specific topic with colleagues in MOH and with others in the community, we've decided to sort of defer that specific decision to a future date. And so for the moment, the project will remain compliant with IDP. It's locked in at sort of 16% from the 2021 master plan, and that number is being carried forward as well as that sort of full commitment. And then in the future, if there is to be any decision about changing the strategy around that, it will be subject to additional process as well as a vote from the board.
Okay, great. And so the 8.9 housing linkage bullet, is that's in addition to the 100 affordable units?
That's correct. It
Okay,
is.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
from the commercial stuff.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the treatment of the historical features. I think it looks really good, and it's a great example of reuse of those structures. Thank you.
Great. Questions or comments?
Just want to make a comment. Would like to definitely thank your team for everything you've done from the planning board as well as development team. This is great to see an area that was not utilized since 2006, as I saw. It's great to be able to see potential tradespeople going to work, another crane in the sky in the city of Boston, and that's important. So thank you very much for everyone and everything you've all done.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't have any questions or anything, just a comment on, I just want to, recognize that, we have received all of the comments and, have noted the, still that tension on the, affordable housing and where it's going to be. But I do want to confirm that, that this vote does not change any of that, and that, again, as Nupur said, if there is a change to that, that will be subject to a board vote and be subject to more community process. So I just want to make sure that people know that they've been heard and that there's, at the moment, nothing that's changing. So with that, if you have any more questions or comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Good luck moving forward. Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh, hi. Sorry. I haven't seen you in like 10 years. It's amazing. Take care. All right. Sorry there.
I'm back.
She's a good friend from a while ago. All right. Okay, so item number 24. We have the contractual payments. I now need a motion to pay our bills.
I move that we pay our bills.
Second.
Okay, no roll call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Please pay the bills. And item number 25, Director's remark. Director Shen, the floor is yours.
Good evening, members of the board. I want to start my report with a summary of the projects that was approved. There were 5 new development projects amounting to 1.5 million square foot that will deliver 763 new residential units, of which 104 of them will be income restricted. The total development cost and investment of these projects will be approximately $1 billion when built.
$1 billion?
$1 billion,
Just
yes.
making
yeah.
sure I got the beep.
And these projects will put approximately 1,250 tradespeople to work and create 1,193 direct jobs and another 630 indirect jobs. I want to highlight 2 of the approvals. Starting with 776 Summer Street, which is the phase 2 of a multi-phase planned development area. That is the redevelopment of the former Edison power plant in the South Boston waterfront. This second phase that was approved will include 4 buildings, of which 2 of them will be completely residential, that will deliver 636 new residential units. 16%, as you heard, will be dedicated to income-restricted units. And even though we have not finalized with the development team how they will meet their IDP requirement, there is a commitment that they will return to the board when that plan is clear. Of course, there will be another new hotel and residential building, and then a commercial building that would be part of this approval. The important part is that this approval will be an important step in having developers be able to actually to continue their search for financing. Critical because there's been over $70 million invested in just the remediation and cleanup of the site. Not to mention that when built, that there will be, as part of this phase, 2 acres of open space, as well as improved public realm, sidewalks, and roadways. One of the most important community benefits I think you heard tonight is that the project will provide job opportunities in the trades, specifically actually for local veterans and high school students. Another project I want to emphasize is the last phase of the designation to the Garrison Trotter Neighborhood Association for not the redevelopment, but actually the greening of the 48 Townsend Street in Roxbury. Currently, the vacant land will be converted into a community garden that will provide opportunities to grow fresh fruit, to address food insecurity in the community. The garden will, of course, serve local residents, families, seniors, and nearby students, and will host a variety of educational, cultural, and recreational programs that reflects the diversity of that community. They will also be hosting gardening workshop, healthy cooking demonstrations, cultural celebrations, and music performances and community gatherings. This is a really good example of how the department is continuing to deploy public land for public good for the community. We also had 1 certificate of completion at Alston Lab Works along Western Avenue. The benefits that were delivered by this project include 17,000 square foot of new open space and public realm improvements that will make it safer for bikers, pedestrians, including a protected bike lane. There would also be a new MBTA bus station delivered as part of this project, and 2,500 square foot of new civic space, and the Nexus Learning Lab, which will host educational programs to teach local students and teachers about the life science industry, as well as workforce seminars to make the community aware of these emerging job opportunities. Finally, I want to end to share to talk a little bit about an event that happened here last night in this boardroom, which was the graduation ceremony for our first cohort of the Planning Academy. There were over 24 of residents of the city that went through the program. They spent 8 weeks every Wednesday night from 6:30 to, I think most of the time, 10 o'clock. working with our staff, really learning about the basics of what how to become participants, knowledgeable participants in our planning and development processes. This planning academy was part of the mayor's intent and a critical component of how we as a city is changing the development and planning culture in the city, and to actually expand the diversity of participants in the planning process. Critically, in addition to sort of in expanding this pool of participants, it was also an opportunity for us to really raise the level of conversation by introducing the knowledge around the real estate industry, the imperative of our city that's so dependent on property tax values, on why we have to manage growth and you know why we're so dependent on growth. But also in this process, one of the interesting, the staff developed a number of exercises for the participants to learn about the complexity of the planning process. And many of these exercises, the students came up with very different answers, which actually is very endemic of the planning discussion because there's no right answer. But along the way, I think the most important part of the curriculum is to really have these participants understand that trade-offs are necessary and compromise is necessary if we're actually to accommodate growth. So we look forward. I told the graduates that now the easy part is over, the 8 weeks is over. Now they have committed themselves to a lifelong responsibility of participating in the planning processes, in the real planning arena. I want to thank the staff, for all the staff that have worked very hard to put on this curriculum. It's been a resounding success as far as we can tell. And because we've had so many interested participants, I think you remember that for this first cohort, we had over 400 applications. We will be running another cohort starting in the fall. So again, great achievement for the staff. And I hope that you get a chance to sort of meet some of these newly graduated citizens or active citizens that will participate in our planning process. So I end my report and thank you again for all of your service.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome to the planning club. As fellow lifelong commitment to the city, this is not an easy thing to undertake, and so just really appreciate all of those who participated, all of those who will participate in the future. I hope you'll find this as gratifying as as we do in being just your neighbors participating as well. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Yeah, no.